Chapter 1278. What are we going to play in a while? There are still a lot of projects that we haven't played yet. Young Axion took the guide map on the ticket and looked at it. There is an aquarium and an acrobatic group in front. Then let's go and have a look in a while. Wu Yunxing agreed repeatedly. When he heard that it wasn't this kind of speed thing, he was naturally happy. Otherwise, if he always played this kind of thing, he really couldn't stand it. If Yang Ming and Sun Jie didn't come, he would really suffer this afternoon. Young Axion smiled slightly. She naturally understood the thoughts in Wu Yunqing's heart, but out of concern and love for him, she decided not to pull him to play these speed and excitement things in the future. The line was still very long. The four people stood at the end of the line and lined up, chatting about some interesting things that they had encountered in their lives. However, in most cases, it was Sun Jie and Yang Axion who were talking. Yang Ming and Wu Yunqing listened silently, but the two people couldn't get a word in. It was really hard to say anything about the topics that they were discussing. Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu rushed all the way to the vicinity of the roller coaster. Sure enough, they saw Sun Jie, Yang Axion, and others in the crowd at a glance. Yu Tianzhu said with some excitement, "Brother Qian, look, they are over there." And, very good. It seems that they are preparing to go on the roller coaster. This is great, ahaha. Qian Tangjiang thought about the power failure in the roller coaster in a while. Sun Jie and Yang Axion were shocked, and his heart was excited. At that time, he could show his skills as a hero to save the beauty. It was just a little troublesome to save the other people, but in order to gain a good reputation for himself, Qian Tangjiang could only endure. In the past, didn't those ruthless people become ninja turtles? That was the highest title of ninja, let's not let them find out. Yu Tianzhu reminded. Yeah, then let's go to the control room over there and wait. When Sun Jie and Yang Axion get on the roller coaster, we will tell the people in the control room to stop the machine, said Qian Tangjiang. Okay, I will go and ask the little bastards in the security department to prepare the ladder. Then, it will be time for us to show our skills, said Yu Tianzhu quickly. Qian Tangjiang nodded and came to the nearby roller coaster control room with Yu Tianzhu and knocked on the door. Originally, the people inside were very impatient. This is an important control area. Unauthorized personnel's not allowed. Who is this? So badass. Qian Tangjiang snorted and didn't knock on the door. You have good eyesight, kid. Qian Tangjiang snorted and sat on the sofa next to him. In a while, I need you to do something. President Qian, just tell me what you need. What do you need me for? Aren't you making fun of me? The pilot said quickly. He said so, but he muttered in his heart. I'm just a little pilot who operates the roller coaster. Qian Tangjiang is the manager of the Commercial Development Department of Carnival and the nephew of the chairman. No matter what, he can't ask me for help, right? Not to mention Qian Tangjiang, even if Yu Tianzhu said something, he could do it. The positions of these two people were much higher than him. You still need to do this. We really don't understand. Qian Tangjiang waved his hand and said. In that case, what do you need me to do? The pilot asked nervously. In a while, when you operate the roller coaster, I ask you to stop. You stop for me. Do you hear me? Qian Tangjiang instructed. Stop. What do you mean? The pilot didn't quite understand. I just want you to stop the machine in your hand. Do you understand now? Qian Tangjiang pointed to the console next to the pilot and explained. Ah. The pilot was stunned. Isn't the roller coaster stopped in the air? Yes, I just want you to stop it in the air. Qian Tangjiang nodded. President Qian, what do you mean by this? If it stops in the air, won't those tourists not be able to come down? The pilot still didn't understand what Qian Tangjiang meant. I ask you to stop in the air, so you stop in the air. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Yu Tianzhu was impatient. He glared and snorted coldly. These two great gods were high-level figures in the carnival land. The pilot couldn't afford to offend either of them. When he heard Yu Tianzhu's anger, he subconsciously shrank his neck and explained with a smile, President Qian, Captain Yu, you see. If I stop the roller coaster, those tourists will be in the air and can't come down. What if they are unwilling? Besides, if the higher-ups know, they will fire me. Why? Aren't you afraid that I will fire you? Qian Tangjiang's face turned black and threatened, I tell you, if you do as I say today, then nothing will happen. If there is a problem, I will take responsibility for you. If you don't listen, I will tell the people in the personnel department in a while and ask you to get out of here tonight. The pilot suddenly withered. Qian Tangjiang's words were not alarmist. With his connections and status, even if he wasn't the chairman's nephew, he could fire him with just a word. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, the pilot could only bow his head and obey, so he said, Okay, President Qian, I will do what you say. That's right. Qian Tangjiang nodded and said very straightforwardly, but you can rest assured that if you do this well, you will belong to me, Qian Tangjiang, in the future. It is not a problem to promote you to the Commander-in-Chief of the park's amusement facilities. The Commander-in-Chief was the pilot's immediate superior. When the pilot heard that he could also sit in this position, he was overjoyed. He quickly thanked, then, thank you, President Yu, for your promotion. If someone else said this, the pilot might not take it seriously. A manager of the Commercial Development Department was only in charge of the commercial service rental, billboard rental, and so on in the Carnival Amusement Park. He had nothing to do with the pilots, and there was no direct superior and subordinate relationship. It was possible for him to be fired, but it was definitely impossible for him to be promoted. How could the appointment and removal of personnel in a big company be done with just a word from others? However, Qian Tangjiang was different. Qian Tangjiang was the chairman's nephew. His words were very effective in any department in the Carnival Amusement Park. Just look at Yu Tianzhu next to him. A little punk could sit in the security department manager position. What else was impossible? Qian Tangjiang waved his hand and said, Stop when I tell you to stop in a while. If someone asks you, just say that the machine is out of order. If there is anything else, let them find me. Okay, President Qian. When the pilot heard that Qian Tangjiang really took the matter into his own hands, he breathed a sigh of relief. At least this time, if the higher-ups wanted to investigate, it wouldn't be his turn to be unlucky. Yang Ming and Sun Jia naturally didn't know that Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu were ready to do bad things. The four people were waiting in line. Seeing that it was their turn, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. This amusement park is making money. So many people come every day. Sun Jie sighed. We will open one in the future. Yang Ming smiled and whispered to her, It is already done in Africa. Ah. Sun Jie was stunned. She knew that Yang Ming was talking about the island in Africa, so she nodded. Because these things were not mature yet, she couldn't tell Yang Xian and Wu Yunxing. They could only talk about it privately. Finally, it was Sun Jia and Yang Xian's turn. They were the first to get on the bus, so they sat in the front of the car. This was the position with the strongest visual impact. Many people would not choose this place even if they came up first because it was too exciting. They would not be able to stand it. However, Sun Jia and Yang Xian were obviously a bold group. When they first rode the roller coaster, they were still a little scared. Now, they were familiar with it. After sitting down, Sun Jie remembered the scene when Yang Ming checked her seatbelt, so she also carefully checked her and Yang Xan's seatbelt. When she found that there was no problem, she was relieved. Anyway, there was nothing wrong with these things. Sun Jie also learned these things. After the inspection, Sun Jie said to Yang Xan, "Little Xan, you have to be careful. Fasten the buttons of your shirt, or your chest will fly out." That video was very popular. Yang Xan naturally saw it. She blushed and said, "I know, but you are very careful. It is safe to sit with you. I also learned from Yang Ming." Sun Jie was a little embarrassed. If it were her, she would definitely not pay attention to these seat belt inspections. In fact, in theory, the safety belt of the carnival's roller coaster had to be repaired every time it ran, but in order to save time and make money, this work was changed to once a day, which increased a lot of safety hazards. Your Yang Ming is very considerate. He also took care of Wu Yunqing's face. Yang Xan smiled. Being praised by Yang Ming, Sun Jie was very happy. Now that she and Yang Ming had established a relationship, she naturally cared about these things. After a preliminary bell rang, the roller coaster was about to start. Sun Jie took a deep breath, and the roller coaster slowly moved and flew into the air. At this time, in the control room not far away, Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu were looking at the roller coaster excitedly. The two were particularly excited now. When they thought that they could be pretentious in a while, they danced a little. When the roller coaster rushed to the top of the sky after several sprints, Qian Tangjiang patted the shoulder of the pilot on the side and shouted, "Stop! Stop! Stop quickly! Right here!" Chapter 1279. The roller coaster, which was still sliding at high speed in the air, suddenly stopped. The tourists who were having fun suddenly rushed forward due to inertia and were abruptly pulled back. They were locked in midair, motionless. After a brief moment of astonishment, there were screams one after another. Everyone was scared. This roller coaster stopped in midair inexplicably. This was definitely not a step that should be done in the game. They saw others playing smoothly before, and the roller coaster did not stop halfway. What happened? Hurry up and drive. Why did it stop? Who operated it? Hurry up and give us a reasonable explanation. Curses and complaints were mixed with the cries of women and children, making the amusement park, which was full of laughter, a mess. Fortunately, the roller coaster stopped in the air. If it stopped upside down in the air, these tourists would not be able to bear it. Damn, what's going on? Are we so unlucky? Wu Yunqing, who was below, suddenly became anxious. His wife, Yang Xan, was still up there. They were so far away, and they couldn't hear or see the situation. How could he not be anxious? However, Wu Yunqing couldn't see it, but Yang Ming could see it. Although Sun Jie and Yang Xan were anxious, the situation was not bad. Yang Ming was slightly relieved. This incident was a bit too weird. He saw that other nearby amusement facilities were operating normally, but only the roller coaster stopped in midair. This was obviously not caused by a power outage. Since it was not a power outage, what was it? The roller coaster stopped in midair without warning, which made Yang Ming doubt the truth of the matter. This incident came too suddenly, and it seemed a bit unusual. If he hadn't met Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu before, Yang Ming might have regarded this incident as an accident. However, these two guys were high-ranking figures in this amusement park, so it was hard to say whether they would do anything to it. It was just urgent to save Sun Jie and Yang Xan first. Who knew what would happen if they stayed up there for a while? The tourists above complained, and the families of the tourists below were even more agitated. They surrounded the staff in charge of the roller coaster and questioned him about what happened. The person who checked the tickets didn't know what was wrong with the roller coaster. He was only in charge of checking the tickets, not in charge of operating the amusement facilities. However, the order below was already chaotic. It was useless no matter what he said. He was still besieged by many people. Little Jia, what's going on? After a short moment of astonishment, young Axayan was scared like others. Why is this roller coaster not moving in the air? Maybe it's a power outage. Sun Jia didn't know the specific reason. She frowned and saw that the amusement facilities such as Torrent Brave and Crazy Mouse in the distance were still working. Ah! Young Axayan's psychological quality was not as good as Sun Jia's. After all, Sun Jia had just experienced a life and death situation. She no longer put these things in her eyes. This was nothing compared to before. They were just trapped in the air. As long as the track below the roller coaster did not collapse, they would not be in danger for the time being. Look, Wu Yunsheng and Yang Ming are waving at us. Sun Jia pointed to the bottom of the roller coaster and smiled at Yang Axayan in order to reassure Yang Axayan. Yang Axayan glanced down and suddenly felt dizzy. She almost screamed. Indeed, she liked to pursue this kind of excitement and horror, but that was also done when she was sure that she would be fine. It was over in an instant. From the start of the roller coaster to the stop, it was only a few minutes. After the excitement, she would be safe. But now the situation was different. The roller coaster stopped in the air. She couldn't go up or down. How could Yang Axayan not be afraid? This kind of unknown fear was the most unbearable. I still don't want to look. I'm scared to death. Yang Axayan patted her chest and closed her eyes. It's okay. Maybe it will be fine soon. Sun Jia comforted her. In fact, Sun Jia herself was not sure. She had never played such a thing before. She didn't know what to do after this situation. In fact, even people who had played it many times, such as Yang Axayan, were still nervous when encountering such a situation. Because such a probability was simply too small, some people could hardly encounter it in their entire life. Just when Sun Jia didn't know what to do, there was a commotion among the tourists on the roller coaster. Sun Jia looked at the source of the sound, but her eyes widened in amazement. She saw Yang Ming crossing the fence and jumping into the roller coaster's isolation belt. He was jumping onto the roller coaster's track. For the time being, Yang Ming couldn't determine whether all this was the conspiracy of Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu, but saving Sun Jia and Yang Ming was the most important thing. Yang Ming was afraid that something would happen, so he jumped into the roller coaster's isolation belt alone. The staff member in charge of checking the tickets saw Yang Ming actually jump into the isolation belt. He was anxious and shouted loudly to let him leave quickly. Danger! However, his voice was quickly covered by the tourists' family members who questioned him and besieged him. He could only watch helplessly as Yang Ming continued to approach the roller coaster's track. Climbing from this track to the roller coaster was not difficult for Yang Ming's skill. When he was training with the butterfly family in Europe, Yang Ming easily passed the simulation training that was much more difficult than this. Of course, there was still a certain danger for others to do this. The roller coaster was now stopped in mid-air, but who could guarantee that this roller coaster would not suddenly start again? In that case, it would be strange if the people climbing on the track were not killed by the roller coaster. However, Yang Ming was not afraid of this situation. Yang Ming had already expected this situation to happen before he climbed on the track. He could make an emergency judgment in 1,000th of a second and quickly find a foothold to jump back to the ground. In Sun Jia's astonishment, Yang Ming had appeared in front of her in the next moment. Yang Ming stood on the side of the roller coaster. She didn't know how Yang Ming stood there and what he relied on to maintain his balance. Yang Ming, you. Sun Jia didn't know what to say. This was too surprising and unacceptable. Although Sun Jia knew that Yang Ming's skill was very good, but wasn't this too good? She didn't see it clearly, but Yang Ming climbed to her side in an instant. Don't move. Yang Ming nimbly opened Sun Jia's seatbelt and shoulder guardrail and said to Sun Jia, hold me. Hold my neck. Don't let go. Oh. Sun Jia had lost her thoughts at this time. She instinctively nodded with Yang Ming. Yang Ming reached out and hugged Sun Jia, letting her whole body lean on his body. This kind of luck was usually hard to come by, but at this moment, Yang Ming couldn't care less about feeling the softness of Sun Jia's chest and body. He whispered, do you know the octopus? You are like this now. You must hold on to me. Don't let go no matter what. Okay. Sun Jia hugged Yang Ming tightly and almost strangled Yang Ming. Yang Ming rolled his eyes, but he didn't say anything to stop it. It was safer to hug tightly than to hug loosely. Little Jia, who are you talking to? Yang Axian closed her eyes in fear. She vaguely heard someone talking around her. At first, she thought that Sun Jia was talking to herself, but after listening to a few words, it didn't seem to be the case. The surrounding was accompanied by the screams of the tourists. So Yang Axian opened her eyes and turned to look at Sun Jia. Just as she wanted to say something, she suddenly lost her voice. She opened her mouth wide and looked at the shocking scene around her. Yang Axian just saw Yang Ming holding Sun Jia and jumping off the roller coaster. After a long while, Yang Axian, who came back to her senses, screamed, "Ah, ah," loudly. However, her voice was quickly drowned out because the other passengers were also screaming. This was just like the plot of a Jackie Chan action movie. But this time, it really happened in front of her. Yang Ming basically ignored those screams, and Sun Jia fell into an excited mood. She couldn't hear anything from the outside world. It was Sun Jia's first time doing such an exciting thing since she was a child. She only felt the wind whistling in her ears. She was shuttling through the clouds with Yang Ming. This was much more exciting than the previous roller coaster. Yang Ming had already found a foothold before he came up. Yang Ming's jumping ability was amazing, and he didn't need to look down to find the foothold with his special ability. After a few ups and downs, he had safely landed on the ground with Sun Jia. The passengers on the roller coaster were shocked. The family members of the tourists below the roller coaster were also shocked. Including the previous ticket checkers, they also looked at the scene in front of them in a daze. Isn't this too amazing? Why don't you let go? Yang Ming smiled bitterly and patted Sun Jia's small waist. Although this feeling was very enjoyable, now was not the time to enjoy it. Yang Axian was still on top. Didn't you tell me not to let go no matter what? Sun Jia's mood was in a state of excitement. She didn't want to let go of Yang Ming, so she said shamelessly. But now we are safe. Yang Ming smiled and said, well, let's hug at home at night. Sister Yang Axian is still on top. I have to save her. Although she was very reluctant, when she heard that Yang Ming was going to save Yang Axian, Sun Jia had to let go of Yang Ming. She couldn't just care about herself and ignore her good sister Yang Axian, right? Chapter 1280. Well, you accompany me at night. Sun Jia reluctantly let go of Yang Ming and whispered in Yang Ming's ear. This sentence suddenly made Yang Ming's blood boil. He only felt that it was worth it even if he fell to his death this time. This was the first time that Sun Jia took the initiative to invite him. In the past, it was either he shamelessly clinging to Sun Jia or he deceived Sun Jia through Shao Qing. Anyway, Sun Jia was reluctant every time. Although she finally followed his wishes, Yang Ming felt uncomfortable in his heart. Now the situation was different. This was Sun Jia's willingness to invite him to accompany her from the bottom of her heart. The meaning was naturally different. And, let's talk about it at night. Now I have to save Sister Yang Xan. Yang Ming was not willing to give up the opportunity to linger, but the situation was pressing. Yang Ming had to at least save Yang Xan first. As for the others, Yang Ming couldn't care so much. Yang Ming was not a savior, nor was he a staff member of the carnival, nor was he a firefighter. These jobs should be left to these people. What Yang Ming could do was to save his family and friends. Of course, this was not Yang Ming being selfish, but in the current situation, these people didn't seem to be in danger. Yang Ming didn't need to help. As for why Yang Ming saved Sun Jia and Yang Xan first, it was only because Yang Ming was afraid that there would be an accident. This accident was mainly caused by Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu, not the mechanical failure of the roller coaster itself. Like now, the roller coaster stopped steadily in the air. Even if it stopped for a week, these people would not be in any danger. As long as a ladder was sent over to rescue them one by one, it would be fine. Yang Ming let go of Sun Jia and let her go to Wu Yunqing to rest first. Then, he jumped on the rail again. Yang Xan was no longer afraid at the moment because she was sure that she had seen the scene of Yang Ming saving Sun Jia. Sun Jia was now standing safely below and waving to her. And Yang Ming climbed up again. At this moment, Yang Xan was even more convinced that the reason why Yang Ming didn't ride the roller coaster wasn't because he was afraid, but because he cared about Wu Yunqing's face. If he was scared, why would he climb up the roller coaster with his bare hands? Big sister Yang Xan, hug me tightly later, just like Xiao Jia just now. But won't brother-in-law be jealous? In order to ease the atmosphere, Yang Ming pretended to be joking as he opened Yang Xan's seat belt and guardrail. It was because Yang Ming had noticed before that Yang Xan was more nervous than Sun Jia. The reason why he saved Sun Jia first was because Sun Jia was one of the people closest to him. On the other hand, he wanted to set an example for Yang Xan. He wanted to let her see that Sun Jia was intact after being saved by him. This could also increase her confidence. Sure enough, Yang Xan had now forgotten her fear. She nodded to him confidently and smiled. He dares to be jealous. Besides, you are my brother. Why would he be jealous? After that, Yang Xan generously hugged Yang Ming. Although he felt the softness of Yang Xan's body, Yang Ming didn't dare to have any improper thoughts. He took a deep breath and jumped down. He had already done it once before, so this time, he was familiar with it. After a few jumps, he landed firmly on the ground. The tourists on the roller coaster and the tourists' family members on the ground cheered again. Wu Yunqing was even more excited. Sure enough, he wasn't jealous. He didn't even think about it. He was just grateful to Yang Ming. After the two landed, Yang Ming pushed Yang Xan away to avoid the awkwardness between them. When Yang Xan saw that Yang Ming was so considerate, she smiled gratefully. Thank you. You are my sister. Why are you thanking me? Yang Ming waved his hand. Before the two finished speaking, there was another commotion in the crowd. It was because they saw a ladder truck coming this way. However, because the distance was relatively far, and there were more tourists in the carnival amusement park, it drove very slowly. However, in front of the ladder truck, there were two other people running to the roller coaster with a loudspeaker in their hands. They shouted as they ran, "Tourists on top, please pay attention. Tourists on top, please pay attention. The roller coaster has a mechanical failure and can't operate temporarily, but it doesn't matter. We have called the ladder truck, and we will immediately rescue you. Please sit in your seats and don't move, and don't fight. We will rescue you in the order from the front to the back. Of course, Qian Tangjiang said this for a reason because he saw Sun Jia and Yang Xian sitting at the front of the roller coaster, so in this way, he could save Sun Jia and Yang Xian first. Saving first and saving later, although it looked the same, the feeling in his heart was definitely different. Therefore, he must give Sun Jia and Yang Xian a preconceived impression so that his heroic image could be highlighted. Seeing that the rescuers had come, the tourists on the roller coaster calmed down. Because of the example of Yang Ming safely saving Sun Jia and Yang Xian, they did not seem to be in a hurry. They knew that if they sat on top, they could always be saved. The families of the tourists below also quieted down and took the initiative to give way so that the ladder truck could pass through here smoothly. Brother Qian. Yu Tianzhu suddenly opened his eyes in shock and pushed Qian Tangjiang. Why are you pushing me? Qian Tangjiang frowned and put down the loudspeaker inexplicably. He said impatiently, what's the matter? Brother Qian, Yang Ming, that Yang Ming saved Yang Ming and Sun Jia. Yu Tianzhu pointed to Yang Ming and Yang Xian, who were walking to the side of the roller coaster, and shouted loudly. Qian Tangjiang looked in the direction that Yu Tianzhu pointed. When he saw that it was indeed Yang Ming and Yang Xian, he was suddenly dumbfounded. They were tossing around 13 moves just to show a good show of a hero saving the damsel in distress, but Yang Ming beat them to it. Although they didn't know how Yang Ming did it, the facts were in front of them, and they couldn't not believe it. Motherfucker, what the hell is going on? Qian Tangjiang was stunned all of a sudden. The good plan that he had painstakingly planned actually failed like this. How could he be reconciled? I don't know. Yu Tianzhu said with grievance, then, do we still save them now? Qian Tangjiang frowned and said, save. The words have already been said. If we don't save them, wouldn't Sun Jia and Yang Xian look down on us even more? Even if we can't save them, we can at least be regarded as heroes. Maybe we can be in the newspaper tomorrow. I'm not afraid that Sun Jia and Yang Xian won't change their minds. There will be opportunities in the future. Let's leave a good impression on them first. Yu Tianzhu heard this and agreed, so he nodded and said, okay, then let's continue the rescue. The ladder truck drove over, and under the command of Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu, they began to rescue people. Yang Ming was sneering at everything that happened in front of him at the moment. It was just a guess, but now, there was no need to guess. This matter was 100% related to Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu. These two people, one was the business development manager, and the other was the security captain. If the security captain was still involved in the rescue, then the business development manager had nothing to do with this matter. But judging from the situation at the scene, Qian Tangjiang was the leader, and Yu Tianzhu was just an errand boy, which further explained the strangeness of this matter. Thinking of this, Yang Ming began to look for the control room near the roller coaster. Maybe the problem was there. With the help of special abilities, Yang Ming quickly found the control room of the roller coaster. You wait for me here. I'm going to do something. Yang Ming patted Sun Jia's back gently and said to her. Sun Jia waited for Yang Ming to save Yang Xian. She was about to say something to him, but she didn't expect Yang Ming to leave again. Wu Yunqing wanted to say some words of gratitude to Yang Ming, but it was too late. He could only say it later. Yang Ming had something to do, so he quickened his pace and quickly broke into the control room of the roller coaster. Yang Ming didn't knock on the door at all. Instead, he kicked the door away. The door of this control room was made of iron. It could be kicked away by Yang Ming, and the operator inside was shocked. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the door in horror. You, who are you? However, just as he spoke half a sentence, he recognized Yang Ming. When Yang Ming was saving people, Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu were busy looking for the ladder car and the loudspeaker, so they didn't see him. But the operator who had been sitting in the control room saw it clearly. He was also afraid that there would be an accident on the roller coaster. If someone was injured or fell to their death, then his responsibility would be huge. He might even be sentenced. Although Qian Tangjiang's promise was very tempting to him, the operator was also afraid that there would be a big problem. If someone really died, no one could protect him. So when the operator saw Yang Ming climbing on the roller coaster like Spider-Man, wasn't this skill too terrifying? If he didn't know that he was still awake, he would even think that he was watching an action movie in a 3D theater. Therefore, it was not surprising that Yang Ming kicked open the iron door of the control room. It was possible for such a ruthless person to smash the control room with a punch. Tell me. What's going on? Yang Ming looked at the operator who was scared and asked. What's going on? The operator faced such a terrifying existence like Yang Ming. How could he dare to be tough? You don't want to say. Yang Ming stepped forward and picked up the operator like a chicken. Do you want me to throw you on the roller coaster and give you a free trip to space? Hero. It really has nothing to do with me. I didn't do the roller coaster. The operator didn't know that Yang Ming was just a tourist like Sun Jia and Yang Exin. When he saw the previous scene, he subconsciously thought of those American blockbusters and thought that Yang Ming was some kind of hero. How much did Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu give you? Yang Ming saw his cowardly look and guessed it pretty much. Chapter 1281. No, he didn't give me money. The pilot shook his head in fear. Then, did he promise you benefits? Yang Ming snorted and asked. It was nothing more than these two possibilities, money or other benefits. And that was all Qian Tangjiang could give him. When the pilot heard Yang Ming say this, he thought that Yang Ming knew everything, so he no longer concealed it. They didn't give me money. They just promised me to listen to them and stop the roller coaster. Then, they would give me a promotion, Yang Ming nodded. It turned out to be like this. No wonder he worked so hard. It should be a very good thing for a bottom-level pilot to get a promotion opportunity. It couldn't be said that the pilot was mercenary. Most people would experiment with this kind of opportunity. After all, it was seeking riches in danger. If you don't want to become like an iron door, then come with me. Yang Ming stepped forward, grabbed the pilot's collar, and lifted him up. What are you going to do? Although the pilot was not thin, he did not dare to resist Yang Ming because he had seen Yang Ming's skill and saw him kick the iron door panel. He had a fear of Yang Ming from the bottom of his heart. He couldn't afford to offend or beat such a person, so the pilot could only lower his head and look at Yang Ming carefully. Go to the roller coaster and explain Qian Tangjiang's conspiracy clearly. Yang Ming did not wait for the pilot to answer, and he took him out of the workshop without any explanation. I don't dare. I will be fired. The pilot was shocked and quickly begged, Hero, please. I can't not have a job. If you are fired, I will help you find another job. Yang Ming was not talking nonsense. There were many positions in Sun Hongjuan's group. He could arrange a position in the security department or the logistics department. Seeing that Yang Ming said so, the pilot could only follow Yang Ming's instructions. Otherwise, God knew how Yang Ming would deal with him. Compared to being fired by Qian Tangjiang, the current Yang Ming in front of him was more terrifying. When Yang Ming returned to the roller coaster, Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu had just rescued the trapped tourists on the roller coaster. The two of them were so tired that they were sweating and panting. Although they just commanded and did not work, the two still worked hard to show how heroic they were in front of Sun Jia and Yang Exin. They personally commanded and comforted the tourists under the big sun. Their approach also made these trapped tourists very grateful. They felt that the service of the carnival amusement park was really good. After the problem occurred, the staff immediately came over to deal with the problem in time and rescue them. They had no complaints. Instead, they praised the two staff who worked hard to command under the big sun. This was exactly the scene that Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu were happy to see. Qian Tangjiang was very proud. "You don't have to thank us. This is what we should do. Although I am the manager of the commercial development department, and this rescue is not under my jurisdiction, I have a good self-sacrificing ideology and morality since I was a child. So, after discovering that everyone had a problem, I rushed here with the security captain, Yu Tianzhu, to solve the problem for everyone." The tourists who had just been rescued and the families of the tourists who were watching by the side gave a warm applause. They felt that these two young people were too noble. They were simply living Lei Feng. These two young men are really good. They are really good people. Yeah, this kind of self-sacrificing young man is really rare now. Let's write a letter of commendation to their carnival. Yes, write another letter to the newspaper. Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu were intoxicated in this praise, and there was an extremely discordant voice. "Everyone, don't be deceived by him. Now I want to tell you the truth about why the roller coaster stopped in the air." Yang Ming took the loudspeaker from the control room and shouted to the crowd. This was an era that absolutely did not lack curiosity. Yang Ming's words suddenly made the boiling crowd quiet for a short while. Then, everyone looked over. Yang Ming handed the loudspeaker to the pilot. Although the pilot was nervous, out of fear of Yang Ming, he had to pick up the loudspeaker. "Dear tourists, I am the pilot who is operating the roller coaster. I want to tell everyone the truth now. If someone else came with the pilot, maybe the tourists would still have doubts. After all, if a random person said that he was the pilot, how could he be the pilot? This thing had no proof of identity, so who knew if its words were true or false? But now the situation was different. The pilot of this roller coaster was brought over by Yang Ming. What kind of person was Yang Ming? He had long become a chivalrous existence in the hearts of these tourists. He could fly over the roof and vault over the wall to save people from such a high roller coaster. He must be a great chivalrous man. In the eyes of these tourists, they didn't know that Yang Ming had a relationship with Sun Jia and Yang Xian before. They thought that Yang Ming was a chivalrous man who punished the strong and helped the weak. Yang Ming started to save people from the front of the roller coaster, but after saving two people, the staff of the carnival amusement park came to rescue them. Then, Yang Ming didn't need to take the risk to save people. Therefore, in the hearts of these tourists, Yang Ming's status was very high, higher than Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu. At this moment, when they heard that Yang Ming was going to tell everyone the truth of the matter, before the pilot next to Yang Ming spoke, their hearts were already leaning toward Yang Ming's side. Support the truth. Support restoring the truth. I support. The tourists shouted, and the pilot's heart calmed down a little. It seemed that the current situation was favorable to him, so he was not so nervous. It's these two people. Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu just found me. He asked me to stop the roller coaster forcibly in the middle of controlling it. Although these two people are not my direct superiors, it is still easy for them to fire me. I can only listen to them. Of course, the pilot didn't say anything promising him a promotion. It didn't make sense to say such words now. If he didn't say it, it would be more sympathetic. This was what Yang Ming taught him to do. Sure enough, everyone present threw a hostile look at Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu. You actually threatened him. He didn't listen to you and even wanted to fire him. Isn't this too shameless and overbearing? He's talking nonsense. After Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu were dumbfounded for a short while, they suddenly shouted with the loudspeaker in their hands, "He is slandering and talking nonsense. We didn't threaten him." Yes. Yu Tianzhu also echoed, "We didn't threaten him. He wanted to be promoted, so he cooperated with us." Silence. Absolute silence. Both the pilot and Yang Ming widened their eyes and looked at Yu Tianzhu inconceivably. Ha! Even Yang Ming didn't know what to say. Isn't this too much of a confession? You motherfucker, are you out of your mind? Qian Tangjiang was so angry that his lungs were smoking. He picked up the loudspeaker in his hand and smashed it at Yu Tianzhu. Yu Tianzhu's head was immediately smashed. Did I say something wrong? Yu Tianzhu hadn't realized what he was wrong with. The crowd of onlookers burst into laughter. At this moment, they no longer doubted it. They cast contemptuous and disgusted gazes at these two people. Taking advantage of this time, the pilot picked up the loudspeaker again. He is right. They did promise me a promotion, but if I don't cooperate, the result is still to be fired, so I can only compromise. Fortunately, this hero explained to me with reason and moved me with emotion, making me realize my mistake. So I decided that even if I am fired, I will accept it, but I must tell everyone the truth of the matter. The pilot's words were too provocative. The tourists present were all infected by his impassioned words and gave him the warmest applause. It was really rare to see such an honest person who was not afraid of power. Aren't these two people too scum? They're simply not human. Yes, they're bastards, pigs, dogs. No, they're worse than pigs and dogs. Little brother, it doesn't matter. They fired you. I want you. I'm the boss of XX company. You can come to work in our company tomorrow. We lack people with integrity like you. A tall middle-aged man in the crowd also shouted. Yang Ming picked up the loudspeaker at this time. It was time to end this farce. Tourists, look. These two people just wanted to show off their heroism, but they ignored everyone's safety and did such dangerous things. This kind of behavior that harms others for their own benefit is simply shameful. Yeah, it's disgusting. When Yang Ming said that, the flames of anger in the tourists' hearts immediately burned. Beat him up. Beat him to death. Yes, beat him up. He almost killed us. We will never let them go easily. Beat him to death. I will be responsible for the medical expenses. The man who claimed to be the boss of XX company also joined the battle. As a result, a group of extremely angry tourists surrounded the poor Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu and began to beat up the two guys. When their lives were threatened, everyone would erupt with incomparable bloodthirst. So, it was time for these two guys to be unlucky. The initiator of this incident, Yang Ming, gave the pilot a note to report to Sun Hongjuan's company. After that, he quietly left the carnival with Sun Jie, Yang Xian, and Wu Yunxing. Yang Ming gave the pilot a note to fulfill his previous promise. However, it seemed that he was now in high demand. There were many people who wanted him to work. Whether he wanted to go to the Sun family's company or not, he could make his own choice. Maybe there was a better position waiting for him in other people's companies. Chapter 1282. Yang Xian's character was very extroverted. Before she reached the entrance of the carnival, she laughed so hard that she almost fainted. Wu Yunxing also held back his laughter and supported Yang Xian. Sun Jia also couldn't help but laugh. Her eyes were like crescent moons. She pursed her lips and looked at Yang Ming. Aren't you trying to be a hero? What kind of hero am I trying to be? I saved my wife and sister. Isn't this natural? I didn't save others. Yang Ming spread his hands and said innocently. Then why did you find the pilot? Sun Jia said, you saved us, and you just left. Why did you tell those people the truth of the matter? I saw that those two guys were asking for a beating. Yang Ming shrugged and smiled. Who asked these two guys to have bad intentions? Don't get into trouble at that time. Let them retaliate against you. Sun Jie reminded. Am I still afraid of revenge? Yang Ming smiled contemptuously. These two people are not opponents. Besides, it doesn't matter when there are so many lice. Just let them be. If they really want to retaliate, I welcome them. I am just afraid that they will go for wool and come home shorn. Sun Jia knew that Yang Ming was telling the truth. Yang Ming's opponents were all terrifying people at the level of the behind-the-scenes boss. For small fries like Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu, Yang Ming really didn't care about them. The four of them left the carnival and laughed non-stop, especially Yang Xan. It was as if she had smelled the air of laughter. She laughed until she almost fainted. Wu Yunsheng helplessly supported Yang Xan. Although this matter was funny, everyone had already laughed, but Yang Xan was still laughing. Little Xan, don't laugh. If you laugh again, you will die. Sun Jia also felt that something was wrong. She grabbed Yang Xan's body and shook it. Hearing Sun Jia's words, Wu Yunsheng was also anxious. He had also heard of people who died of laughter. It was said that they encountered a very funny thing. At first, they were really laughing. Later, it was a mechanical habit. They couldn't control it at all. The final result was that they laughed until they passed out and died. Let me take a look. When Yang Ming heard Sun Jia's words, he also took it seriously because Yang Xan had indeed laughed for too long. Moreover, she had been laughing all the time. Later on, she didn't speak. You know how to read. Sun Jia had some doubts. However, Yang Ming didn't answer Sun Jia's question. Instead, he lifted Yang Xan's face with one hand and opened her eyes with the other hand. Then, he frowned. Sure enough, Yang Xan should be smiling mechanically at this moment. There was no smile in her eyes, and it was replaced by fear. This meant that she didn't want to smile, but she had no choice. Her body was not under her control. Yang Ming hesitated, but he still reached his hand under Yang Ming's skirt. Beside the Huiyin acupoint, there was an acupoint that could stop laughter. This kind of unorthodox acupoint was not recorded in Chinese medicine books, but Fang Tian had taught Yang Ming before. At that time, Fang Tian had given an example of the laughing acupoint. When punishing others, one could hit the laughing acupoint of the other party, making the other party laugh and die. Of course, there was also a way to unseal the laughing acupoint, so Yang Ming had a deep impression of it. Ah! Seeing that Yang Ming touched Yang Xan's skirt and even put his hand in, Wu Yunsheng was shocked. However, in his opinion, Yang Ming was not the kind of person who would take advantage of others. Therefore, although Wu Yunsheng was shocked and angry at Yang Ming's behavior, he did not flare up because he firmly believed that Yang Ming would not take advantage of Yang Xan when she was like this. If he wanted to take advantage of her, when he carried Yang Xan down from the roller coaster, it was a great opportunity to take advantage of her. Yang Ming did not take advantage of her, let alone now. Although Sun Jia knew that Yang Ming was a playboy, it was absolutely impossible for him to take advantage of anyone. He often took advantage of her. Sun Jia naturally knew that, but it was based on the premise that they had that kind of relationship. Now that Yang Xan was his god-sister, did he dare to take advantage of her? Although Xiao Qing was also Yang Ming's god-sister, the nature of the two was different. Yang Ming found Yang Xan's acupuncture points and began to massage. Even Yang Ming himself felt a little embarrassed. This position was too close to Yang Xian's private place. If he rubbed it like this, it would inevitably make people misunderstand. However, since he had already done this step, Yang Ming naturally had to continue. Fortunately, Yang Xian soon stopped laughing and gasped for breath. Yang Ming let go of his hand and said to Wu Yunqing, "Help Sister Yang Xian to the bench on the side of the road to rest." Until this moment, Sun Jia and Wu Yunqing knew that Yang Ming was really saving people, not taking advantage of Yang Xian. They couldn't help but feel a little ashamed when they thought that they had misunderstood him before. "Why do you seem to know everything?" Sun Jia was getting more and more unable to understand Yang Ming. For the previous Yang Ming, Sun Jia thought that she understood Yang Ming very well. But now, it was not the case at all. "I have said that there are too many things about me that you don't know. It will take a long time to say all of them. Even I can't remember them clearly," Yang Ming said with a smile. This feeling of being worshipped by Sun Jia made Yang Ming feel very refreshed. Even Sun Jia, a strong woman, admired him. This was also something that he was very proud of. He helped Yang Xian to sit on the bench on the side of the road. Yang Xian gasped for a while and said reluctantly, "I'm so tired. I almost couldn't breathe. I couldn't control myself. Sister Yang Xian, I have offended you just now. I'm really sorry." Yang Ming saw that Yang Xian had recovered, and he also breathed a sigh of relief and said quickly. Yang Xian waved her hand. Although she was laughing, she also had perception and thought. Of course, she knew that Yang Ming was saving her. Although she was a little frightened at first why Yang Ming did this, she felt much better under Yang Ming's massage. She knew that Yang Ming was doing it for her good. "Yang Ming, you have saved me twice. I haven't thanked you yet. What did you do to offend me?" "Yeah, Yang Ming, you can't say that." Wu Yunqing also blushed. He almost misunderstood Yang Ming before. "You are Yang Xian's younger brother. We don't have to avoid suspicion between us. Aren't you being an outsider by saying that?" "That's right." Yang Xian's tone finally returned to normal. "Even if we take off our clothes and sleep together, that is normal." After Yang Xian finished speaking, she saw that Yang Ming, Sun Jia, and Wu Yunqing were stunned. Only then did she realize that her joke was a bit too much. Even if they were siblings, it was impossible to sleep together at such an age. So, she snorted and said, "Of course, I just said it casually. Little Jia won't agree. You go to hell. How am I like what you said?" Sun Jia pinched Yang Xian, and the two laughed. "Okay, don't laugh anymore. You will laugh again in a while." Yang Ming looked at the two helplessly and shook his head. "It's okay. Anyway, you will cure it if we laugh too much," Sun Jia said indifferently. Yang Ming was speechless and shrugged. Wu Yunqing on the side also looked helpless. The four people talked and laughed for a while. They were all hungry, so they went to the parking lot. Wu Yunqing didn't drive. The two strolled over. It just so happened that the four of them were in one car. They all got into Yang Ming's car. "Where are we going to eat?" Yang Ming started the car and asked. "Let's go to the House of Six Tastes." Sun Jia thought about it and said, "I haven't been there since the last time." "Okay, I haven't been there for a long time." Yang Xian nodded and agreed. "Then let's go there." Wu Yunqing naturally wouldn't object. He was a loyal supporter of Yang Xian. He would listen to whatever Yang Xian said. After Yang Ming started the car, he remembered that he wasn't familiar with the terrain. Sun Jia drove here before, and he couldn't find where the House of Six Tastes was. So, he hopped out of the car helplessly and changed seats with Sun Jia. You drive. Sun Jia also took over and replaced Yang Ming. Not long after the four people's car left, an ambulance screamed into the carnival amusement park. Qian Tangjiang and Yu Tianzhu were badly beaten. They were lying on the ground, and the tourists who beat them up dispersed. At this time, it was difficult to find out who beat them up. The two people were carried into the ambulance. Apparently, many places on their bodies were fractured. They had already fainted, but they woke up with such pain and screamed. The pilot had already left, and he didn't have to wait to be fired. He resigned first, and the pilot would report to another company tomorrow. Why should he stay here? Qian Tangjiang hated it. He hated Yang Ming's 18 generations of ancestors to the bone. It was originally planned by him to be a hero saving the beauty, but it became a hero being beaten by a group of people. The gap before and after was too big. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but scold, Yu Tianzhu, it was your bad idea. Look at us now. The two of us have become like this. Yu Tianzhu was also woken up by the tossing. His whole body seemed to be hit by a sledgehammer, and the pain was unbearable. He argued with grievance, Brother Qian, what does this have to do with me? It's all Yang Ming's doing. If it weren't for your bad idea, how could he have the opportunity to take advantage of it? Qian Tangjiang also knew that this matter was caused by Yang Ming, but there was a loophole in his plan that was caught by others. That was also his bad idea. Yang Ming's hatred must be avenged, but now he also wanted to use Yu Tianzhu as a punching bag. Also, is your brain not working properly? Look at what nonsense you said before. What do you mean by cooperating with us for promotion? Are you afraid that others don't know that this matter was caused by us? If you don't say it, we can say that Yang Ming is slandering us. But if you say it like this, we will confess without being pressed. This hit the sore spot in Yu Tianzhu's heart. At that time, he was also agitated and spoke without thinking. He spilled the beans all of a sudden. It was too late to remedy it. So when Qian Tangjiang scolded him, he really had no way to refute it. He had to say, I'm sorry, Brother Qian. It's all my fault, forget it. We are also brothers in distress. Hearing Yu Tianzhu admit defeat, Qian Tangjiang couldn't continue to scold him. Chapter 1283. Since the last time she met the annoying guy, Ouyang Junyuan, at the home of Six Tastes, Sun Jia had never come here again. Later, she heard that Ouyang Junyuan's family had an accident in Macau except for him. It was quite surprising. Although she didn't know if this had anything to do with Yang Ming, it was a bit strange. When she came to the parking lot of the House of Six Tastes again, the old man was still there. Sun Jia parked the car and took out a yuan coin to give to the old man, but the old man turned and left after parking the car for her. After Sun Jia got out of the car, she quickly called the old man, "Old man, do I give you money?" The old man turned around in surprise and recognized Sun Jia. "It's you. Little girl." "It's me, and little Axian." Sun Jia said with a smile. "I saw that there was a public car pass in front of your car. This kind of pass doesn't charge parking fees, so I didn't pay attention. I didn't expect you to drive." The old man smiled. "I didn't expect little girl to become a public servant." Sun Jia blushed a little. She didn't like this kind of behavior that was regarded as a privileged class. She said embarrassedly, "It's my boyfriend's car. It turned out to be like this. After you came last time, I was still thinking about you. It's boring to stand here all day long. It's the happiest thing in the day to meet some acquaintances." The old man smiled. "You can come to see me often in the future. I don't want you to pay parking fees." "Okay, then we will try to come as often as possible. Sun Jia also missed the time when she was in school. She was very happy to chat with the old man every day. It was now lunchtime at the House of Six Tastes. When Yang Ming and the others went in, there were no seats, so they had to wait at the door. If I knew this, I should have asked Tian Long to call and book a seat first. Yang Ming looked at the full hotel and was somewhat helpless. This place is too popular. It should have been expanded. The Chuanwei building next to it didn't have many guests. Why didn't the owner of the House of Six Tastes rent it together? However, this wasn't a problem that Yang Ming cared about. Everyone's business philosophy was different. Some people were satisfied with the status quo and thought that it was already very good, but some people had a pioneering spirit and would continue to expand their business. Get out of the way, you in front, give me some space. Just as Yang Ming and the others were waiting at the entrance, noises came from the back of the line. They saw three hooligan-like young men pushing through the crowd, trying to squeeze their way over, shouting and cursing at the same time. Most of the people in the line were young couples or families of three. Most of the people who came to eat here were working-class people. Those who were rich and powerful had gone to better places or booked private rooms in advance. They would not line up here. Therefore, most of these people were not willing to provoke trouble, and made way for the three evil-looking people. They could not afford to provoke these people, so they avoided them. Are you deaf? The young man in the lead pushed Yang Ming, causing Yang Ming to not know whether to laugh or cry. However, Yang Ming was not willing to bicker with them. Beating them up here seemed very awesome, but in fact, it was no different from them. Fighting fiercely was not a good habit. Sun Jia frowned and felt that these people were very uncultured. Yang Axian pulled Sun Jia and whispered, "Forget it. These are little hooligans. Don't bother with them." The receptionist of the Home of Six Tastes also saw the three little hooligans, and he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. "Sir, can you please line up?" "Who said that we didn't line up? The three of us are in front of the line. It's our turn." Little Huang Mao, who pushed Yang Ming, was obviously the leader of the three people. He glared at the receptionist and sneered, "Which eye of yours saw that we didn't line up?" This. The receptionist was also a little afraid of these three people. These three people didn't look like good people at first glance. Their signature multicolored hair and hooligan-looking jackets made people stay away from them. Do your own thing. Don't be a busybody. Little Huang Mao said fiercely, "You ask the customers in the line behind. Which one of them didn't line up when they saw me?" Little Huang Mao asked who didn't line up when they saw him, not who saw him line up. This was quite artistic. At this time, who dared to stand up and say that little Huang Mao didn't line up? A family of three with a wife and a child, a young couple in sweet love, who would stand up and provoke a few little hooligans. Maybe they would be retaliated in a while, so when little Huang Mao said this, the customers lowered their heads and pretended not to hear this sentence. The receptionist saw that everyone had no opinion, so he had to lead the three people into the store. There was just an empty table, so the three people grabbed it first. Although Yang Ming didn't have a conflict with these three little hooligans, he didn't intend to let them go. When they walked into the store, Yang Ming's sleeve shook slightly, and a flying needle was pinched in his hand. His hand flicked gently, and the flying needle was shot to the acupuncture point on little Huang Mao's leg. Little Huang Mao was very proud. He thought that he was the boss of this area, but he didn't expect that his right leg suddenly became numb, and then it didn't listen to him. His whole body fell sideways, and his head hit the guardrail on the side of the card seat. Suddenly, blood gushed out. Huang Mao's leg also recovered. He didn't know how he fell. He covered his forehead that was bleeding and shouted, "Why is the floor in your store so slippery? Did you make me fall? How do you deal with this?" When the yellow-haired man's two companions saw that their boss' head was bleeding, they hurriedly helped him up from the ground. They also scolded the receptionist, "You threw brother chicken. What should we do about this? Find your boss. This is not over." The other companion didn't want to be outdone. The receptionist was a little wronged. He looked at the smooth floor. There was no water stain at all, and there was no place to slip. He didn't know how little Huang Mao fell. "Our floor is not slippery at all." The receptionist pointed to the floor and said, "You said it's not slippery, so it's not slippery. If it's not slippery, how did our boss fall?" Little Huang Mao's subordinate pointed at the receptionist and scolded, "Let me tell you. Our brother Chicken is also a person with a status. He slipped here, and it has seriously affected his public image. You have to compensate for our loss. There is no water on the floor. Whether it's slippery or not, people with eyes can see it. You cut the line and still talk like this, right?" Yang Ming snorted and said with some contempt, "Are you a fucking onion? Do you need to be a busybody?" When Huang Mao's subordinate saw Yang Ming helping at this time, he was unhappy. "Do you want to be unlucky? Hurry up and shut up." "How unlucky?" Yang Ming asked. "You are really tired of living." When Huang Mao's subordinate saw that Yang Ming was not done, he let go of Huang Mao's subordinate who was supporting his boss. He came over to slap Yang Ming, but Yang Ming grabbed his wrist. He couldn't move. Huang Mao's subordinate shook his hand twice, but he couldn't move. He knew that this person wasn't so easy to provoke. He snorted, "Let go of me." Yang Ming let go without warning, and Huang Mao's subordinate almost fell. Taking advantage of this, Yang Ming shot another flying needle into the acupoint on Huang Mao's subordinate's leg. Huang Mao's subordinate directly lost his balance and fell to the ground. The back of his head hit the ground, and there was a big wound. Blood flowed out. The customers behind the line couldn't hold it in anymore and burst into laughter. These three guys were like monkeys performing a farce. Even the customers eating inside were roaring with laughter. This made the yellow-haired man's face turn even uglier. It was unknown whether it was because of excessive bleeding or because of anger. "Hurry up and get up." Huang Mao glared at the subordinate who fell on the ground. "You only know how to make a fool of yourself." The subordinate on the ground felt wronged. He thought to himself, "What does this have to do with me? I just stood up for you and got screwed over. Now you are scolding me." Suddenly, he was a little unhappy. He stood up with a sullen face and looked like he didn't take a dump. "Stop laughing, what are you laughing at?" The yellow-haired man was embarrassed by everyone's laughter. It was unknown which table's customer in the room said, "We are laughing at you, Huang Mao, ha 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 ha." This time, the customers who had just held back their laughter burst out again like a tide of laughter. Who said it? Stand up." Huang Mao's face was distorted, especially when his face was full of blood. It was even more terrifying. His eyes searched back and forth in the shop, trying to find the person who just spoke. The person who spoke couldn't help but say it. He didn't dare to go against Huang Mao face to face, so after saying it, he quickly shrunk his head and didn't dare to show his face. Yang Ming naturally saw who said it, but he wouldn't expose it. Seeing that no one responded to him for a long time, he was so angry that his face turned ugly, but he didn't know what to do. He was in a dilemma. Yang Ming stood up and openly confronted him, but Huang Mao saw that his subordinate was at a disadvantage, so he didn't dare to easily find trouble with Yang Ming. He was also a person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. If he wasn't sure, he naturally didn't want to provoke trouble. At this time, Yang Ming spoke. "That's fine. Why don't you take your two companions to the hospital? In a while, He will die from excessive blood loss. Yang Ming looked indifferently at the yellow-haired man's unharmed subordinate. At this time, the security in the restaurant also surrounded and stared at the three people. When Huang Mao saw that he couldn't make a scene, he could only run out with a face full of dust. He really did need to go to the hospital to stop the bleeding. At the door, Huang Mao didn't forget to stare at Yang Ming, who asked you to meddle in other people's business. See if I don't kill you in the future. Yang Ming smiled after hearing it and tripped him with his foot. Huang Mao directly flew out of the door after he finished speaking. Chapter 1284. Huang Mao left. It was supposed to be Yang Ming and the other three who went in order. The people behind naturally had no opinion. Even if Yang Ming was not in front, they had no opinion on letting Yang Ming go in first. After all, Yang Ming just said what they wanted to say and helped them vent their anger. They didn't dare to say it, but they were still very happy when others said it. After Huang Mao ran away, they spontaneously gave a warm applause to Yang Ming. Did you do that just now? Although she didn't know how Yang Ming did it, Sun Jia intuitively felt that the previous incident had something to do with Yang Ming. What just now? Yang Ming asked as if he didn't know. That Huang Mao and his men suddenly fell. Sun Jia narrowed her eyes and smiled beautifully at Yang Ming. Don't pretend to be stupid. If you don't pretend to be stupid, I might not doubt it. You deliberately pretend to be stupid. What do you want to hide? It's more suspicious. Yang Ming didn't intend to hide it from Sun Jia. He was just casually joking, so he said, well, I did it. I can hit the acupoints through the air. Really? Sun Jia didn't believe it. Can you perform for me? At night, I will perform for you. There are many people here now. Yang Ming changed the topic. Okay, then at night. Sun Jia didn't continue to entangle. What are you two whispering about? Yang Xian pushed the menu in her hand to Sun Jia and Yang Ming. What do you want to eat? Take a look. You can just order. Yang Ming said, you know what little Jia likes to eat. I'll just order whatever. Okay then. Yang Xian took back the menu and ordered a few dishes that Sun Jia liked to eat. She also ordered some signature dishes for Yang Ming and Wu Yunxing. Then she returned the menu to the waiter and signaled that he had ordered. The waiter left, and there were only 4 people left. Yang Xian was also very curious about what happened just now. Sun Jia thought of it, and Yang Xian had no reason not to think of it. If Yang Ming didn't speak later, of course, they wouldn't doubt it. However, Yang Ming said something in a timely manner, and then Huang Mao's men inexplicably fell down, just like the previous Huang Mao, which couldn't help but arouse Yang Xian's suspicion. Huang Mao. Yang Ming, did the previous incident have anything to do with you? Yang Xian finally couldn't help but ask. You mean Huang Mao's matter? Yang Ming learned to be smart this time. He didn't pretend to be stupid. Instead, he directly mentioned Huang Mao. Yeah, how did he fall down for no reason? Yang Xian asked curiously. Some things could be said to Sun Jia, but not to Yang Xian. It wasn't that Yang Ming didn't trust Yang Xian, but some things were not good for Yang Xian if she knew. She didn't belong to his circle. His enemies were too strong. As his woman, Sun Jia had inevitably become a chess piece in the hands of the behind-the-scenes boss. Since this was the case, Yang Ming simply wouldn't hide it. He planned to tell Sun Jia about his own matters and the behind-the-scenes boss tonight so that she could be mentally prepared. But Yang Xian was different. She was just a god-sister that he recognized. The behind-the-scenes boss wouldn't be interested in her, so the less she knew about him, the safer she would be. I was also very puzzled. He suddenly fell down. Yang Ming said, "Maybe he was punished by God." "I thought it was you who did it." Yang Xian was a little disappointed. If it was Yang Ming who did it, then she would be very excited. "I was so far away from him. I wanted to, but I didn't have the strength." Yang Ming spread his hands helplessly and said, "But in the end, I tripped him and made him fly out. That's not bad. At least I vented my anger." Hearing Yang Ming say this, Yang Xian was excited again. Although there were many guests in the House of Six Tastes, the speed of serving the dishes wasn't slow. It should be that many dishes were semi-finished products prepared by the kitchen. They just had to be put into the pot. So, although there were many guests, the speed of each table from ordering to serving the dishes was very fast. This also saved a lot of time. The taste was as good as the last time. This was also the reason why the House of Six Tastes had been enduring for a long time. From Sun Jie's school days to the present, the chefs of the House of Six Tastes had changed many times, but the taste was always the same. This was because the owner of the House of Six Tastes had always mastered the core ingredients. He added the seasonings in each dish according to the proportion and sealed them. In this way, when the chef cooked, he only needed to follow the steps and put in the seasonings. Then, he could make delicious dishes. So, no matter how the chef changed, as long as the operation steps were the same and the proportion of the ingredients were the same dishes could be made. This was very similar to the model of foreign fast foods such as KFC and McDonald's. Even if you learned the steps, you didn't have the core ingredients. After leaving, there was no way to open your own store. After the meal, Yang Ming and Sun Jie said goodbye to Yang Xian and Wu Yunxing. Yang Ming planned to go to Sun Hongjuan's company to take a look and solve the voodoo problem. Looking at the time, there was still time. Yang Ming sent Wu Yunxing and Yang Xian back first. Then, he drove to the Changhu Hotel where he had previously agreed with Zhang Jishin. Zhang Jishin arrived in the afternoon and sent a text message to Yang Ming. This time, he came with the antidote for the voodoo. It couldn't be considered as an antidote. It just delayed the outbreak of the voodoo to a year. These people under Sun Hongjun had all become opportunists. Yang Ming didn't dare to completely detoxify them. If the voodoo was detoxified, what should he do if these people had another Tianlong incident? Therefore, Yang Ming didn't dare to take this risk. However, these people were the foundation and backbone of Sun Hongjuan's group. If he fired all of them, then the entire operation of the group would stop, so he couldn't fire them. This time, it involved too many people. Starting from the deputy general manager under Sun Hongjun, all of them were bought by Tianlong. If Yang Ming wanted them to have no disloyalty and continue to work wholeheartedly for Sun Hongjun, he could only use voodoo to restrain them first. After he truly established authority, it wouldn't be too late to completely detoxify them. However, Yang Ming thought that after experiencing this incident, these people should be able to understand what absolute strength was. Under absolute strength, these people couldn't be allowed to rebel. If they wanted to rebel again, Yang Ming could still deal with them. The two vegetative people lying in the hospital were their examples. The reason why Yang Ming didn't let these two people die directly but let them lie in the hospital and waste the medical expenses was also to have a long-term deterrent effect on these people so that they wouldn't dare to have any improper thoughts. Sun Jia was still driving. When they came to the parking lot of the Changhu Hotel, they saw Zhang Jishin's Jetta, which was given to him by Ho Jinhan. Yang Ming asked him to change it, but Zhang Jishin felt that it was good to have a car, so he kept driving it. "I will introduce you to a Miao friend in a while. He is the person who helped me configure the voodoo," Yang Ming said to Sun Jia. Sun Jia nodded. She found that Yang Ming's attitude toward her was obviously different from before. After she agreed to be Yang Ming's woman, Yang Ming no longer hid it from her and introduced her to his circle of friends. This made Sun Jia angry and amused. Although she was very happy, she complained about Yang Ming's previous caution. Zhang Jishin came alone this time and didn't bring his girlfriend, Xiao Qi. When they entered the room, Yang Ming first introduced Zhang Jishin and Sun Jia to each other. After listening to Yang Ming say that she was one of them, Zhang Jishin didn't avoid it and directly took out the antidote for the voodoo. Brother Yang, I have already configured the antidote. This time, it can be suppressed for a year. These should be enough, right? Yang Ming took the antidote box and found that there were at least 100 pills in it. Obviously, it was enough. He smiled and said, I don't need so many. Xiao Qi was afraid that it wasn't enough, so she made more. Anyway, it didn't take much effort. Zhang Jishin smiled and said, Is there anything else that I can do for you? Not for the time being. You just wait for me in the hotel. When I deal with the things here, we will go back to Songjiang together. Yang Ming put away the pills and said to Zhang Jishin. Okay, then I will wait for you here. If there is anything, feel free to contact me by phone. Zhang Jishin said. Okay, contact me by phone. Yang Ming didn't stay much and left the room with Sun Jia. Out of the Changhu Hotel, Yang Ming thought about it and took out the antidote box and handed it to Sun Jia. You will be in charge of the company in the future. You will give this thing to them later to establish authority. Seeing that Yang Ming was so thoughtful, Sun Jia smiled gratefully and put away the antidote box. You know quite a lot of people? Sun Jia was really amazed by Yang Ming's connections. He was sent by Lan Ling to protect me. Right, you should know about Lan Ling, right? Yang Ming didn't mention Lan Ling to Sun Jia, but she should know about it. Sun Jia didn't hide it and nodded. Xiao Qing told me about her before. She is your ex-girlfriend. She is still my ex-girlfriend, but she hasn't come back yet. Yang Ming corrected, Zhang Jishin was sent by her. He is proficient in voodoo. When I dealt with the behind-the-scenes boss collaborator, it was thanks to his help. It turned out to be like this. Sun Jia was secretly calculating in her heart. Among Yang Ming's girlfriends, Lan Ling's strength was very strong. She couldn't easily offend her. This little girl knew voodoo. If she planted a voodoo on herself, it wouldn't be fun. She had to find ways to win her over in the future. Yang Ming naturally didn't know what she was thinking. He thought that she was thinking about the company, so he said, now the situation is under control. There is nothing to worry about. You can hold a meeting with them and say something to show them mercy. Sun Jia quickly cut off those unrealistic thoughts. She returned to her senses and nodded. You will accompany me. Of course. Sun Jia didn't say it. Yang Ming had to give her courage. Chapter 1285. Sun Hongjuan's company was located in the golden area of the city center. A 36-story building was all owned by the Sun's group. It showed how big the Sun family's business was in Donghai. Yang Ming had never been here before. He had only been to Sun Jie's branch in Songjiang. The scale there was not small. It occupied an entire floor of the building, but it was more luxurious here. When the car entered the underground parking lot, it was stopped by the security guard. However, when he saw Sun Jia in the driver's seat, he immediately let it go. The company's grassroots staff didn't know what happened at the top, so they didn't know about the Sun family and the Tian family. Previously, Tian Long seized power. Now that Sun Hongjun was in charge of the overall situation, these security guards didn't hear any news. When they saw Sun Jia, the company's young lady, they naturally let it go. However, even if they knew, they would let it go smoothly. After all, Sun Hongjun was now at the helm of the company again. It's quite stylish here. Yang Ming got out of the car and looked at the Sun's group that even the parking lot was decorated very luxuriously. It's not as stylish as your private island. Sun Jia ridiculed Yang Ming, but if it weren't for you, these would have become someone else's. Did you also become someone else's? Yang Ming blinked. As long as you don't become someone else's, I don't care about others. Yang Ming rarely used such a flirtatious tone to talk to Sun Jia, but it made Sun Jia's body go soft. She had an inexplicable sense of belonging. It seemed that the title of a strong woman in the past was nothing. It was proper for her to stay at home and be a good wife to Yang Ming. You only know how to make me happy. You know that I don't like the kind of man who has a glib tongue and empty words. Sun Jia had no strength to look at Yang Ming. If it weren't for the public, she would want to lie on Yang Ming's body. I didn't coax you. I will do what I say. Yang Ming said. That's why I agreed to be your girlfriend. Sun Jia said along with Yang Ming. What do you mean by what you just said? Why do I feel like you're mocking me? Yang Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard Sun Jia's words. Previously, Sun Jia's words seemed to imply that he only knew how to sweet talk, but she later denied it. Nothing much, I'm just saying. Sun Jia didn't know what was wrong with her today. She kept saying weird things. She wasn't like this before, but she didn't know what was wrong with her today. When they got to the second floor, the elevator opened, and a person came up. It happened to be a company executive who went to Yang Ming's house yesterday. When he saw Yang Ming, he was shocked. He stumbled and turned to leave. Sorry, I'll take a seat. Yang Ming did not expect that he was already like a big bad wolf in the hearts of these people. Even a glance at him would scare them. He found it funny. Come on up, let's sit together. Although the man was afraid, he couldn't disobey Yang Ming's words. Trembling with fear, he got into the elevator and leaned against the wall like a clothes hanger. He didn't even have the courage to look at Yang Ming. Why is he so afraid of you? Sun Jia was also surprised by Yang Ming's deterrence. Why does this person avoid Yang Ming like a ghost when he sees him? Am I afraid of you? You are the eldest daughter of the group. Why are you afraid of me? Yang Ming smiled. If you don't believe it, do you want me to ask? Sun Jia knew the man, so she said, Minister Zhang, what's wrong with you? No, nothing. Minister Zhang felt like a year. He couldn't wait for the elevator to be as fast as a rocket. You tell me. Are you afraid of me? Sun Jia certainly wouldn't give up. Afraid. I'm afraid. Minister Zhang was about to cry. How can I answer this question? Although he was more afraid of Yang Ming, Sun Jia was Sun Hongjuan's daughter, the eldest daughter of the group. How could he not be afraid? Are you afraid of me? Sun Jia didn't get the answer she wanted. She was somewhat unhappy. Minister Zhang was really about to cry. No matter how he answered this question, Sun Jia wouldn't like it. If he said that he wasn't afraid, then Sun Jia was fine now, but she would definitely settle accounts with him afterward. After thinking for a long time, Minister Zhang couldn't wait to dig out his brain and replace it with Einstein's. He used all his wisdom and finally thought of a way to muddle through, because Mr. Yang is your boyfriend, so, Minister Zhang didn't finish his words, but the meaning was already very obvious. That was, I'm afraid of you because of the relationship with Yang Ming. This was also in line with Sun Jia's intention. He couldn't annoy her. After saying this, Minister Zhang was relieved. Look. How is it? Sun Jia was very satisfied after listening. She looked at Yang Ming proudly. You know how to not offend both sides. Yang Ming snorted, but it scared Minister Zhang again. He only considered Sun Jia before and ignored Yang Ming, this great god. The person he really couldn't offend was Yang Ming. Thinking of this, Minister Zhang almost knelt down. Mr. Yang, I'm really afraid of you. Please, don't make it difficult for me. After that, Minister Zhang really knelt on the ground. Yang Ming just said it casually, but he didn't expect Minister Zhang to be so scared and timid. He really didn't know what to say. At this time, the elevator just stopped. Someone came in and saw Minister Zhang kneeling at the elevator door. He was shocked. Minister Zhang, what are you doing? The person who entered the elevator was also a department leader. Yang Ming also saw him yesterday, but when he entered the door, his attention was attracted by Minister Zhang. He didn't notice Yang Ming. Minister Zhang didn't dare to answer. He knelt there and begged Yang Ming for forgiveness. Manager Liu, who came in, was somewhat puzzled. Minister Zhang, what are you doing? What else is worth you kneeling for? You are also a senior in this group. You mean what you say, and you can call the wind and summon the rain. Minister Zhang couldn't wait to jump up and give him a big slap. How is this praising me? This is simply pushing me into the fire pit. If Yang Ming misunderstood and thought that I have more power, then I will really be finished. Don't say it. Minister Zhang didn't dare to stand up. He had to turn to Manager Liu and shouted, if you want to die, then die. Just don't kill me. Manager Liu was confused by Minister Zhang. When he looked up, he saw Yang Ming and Sun Jia standing by. He suddenly understood the situation and was shocked. Yesterday, Yang Ming's appearance was still vivid in Manager Liu's mind. Today, not only did he ignore Yang Ming, but he also talked nonsense in front of him. No wonder Minister Zhang said that if he wanted to die, don't kill him. Thinking of this, Manager Liu's legs were soft. He also knelt on the ground with Minister Zhang. Mr. Yang, I am just talking nonsense. Don't take it seriously, Yang Ming pushed Sun Jia. At this time, it was time for her to establish her authority. Yang Ming didn't speak. He just let her speak. Sun Jia was smart and immediately understood. She said to the two people kneeling on the ground, you two get up. What are you doing? You are making our company like a feudal society. When the two people listened to Sun Jia's words, their hearts were relieved. However, Yang Ming didn't say anything. They didn't dare to get up casually, right? Although the person in charge of this company was Sun Jia, Yang Ming could take their lives. Which one was more powerful? They naturally had a plan in their hearts. Yang Ming knew that they didn't dare to get up, so he said, in the future, what little Jia says represents what I mean. Thank you, Miss Sunday. Thank you, Mr. Yang. The two quickly thanked and stood up. With Yang Ming's words, they were relieved. You don't have to thank me. Just do your job well. Sun Jia said faintly, I'm not a queen. I don't need you to kowtow. Just do your work. The two people quickly agreed. They went to the next floor and found a reason to go out. When the elevator door closed again, Sun Jia covered her mouth and snickered. You are really scarier than those big demons. Look at how you scared the people in my company. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Yang Ming shrugged. Now, even if you give them money, they won't dare to have any improper thoughts. You can completely avoid the recurrence of Tianlong's incident. This is also true, but this feeling of being a queen is a bit bad. I don't like it. Sun Jia smiled bitterly. That's better. If you are a queen, I can't stand it. Yang Ming said, now that you have established your authority in the company, no one will lie to you in the future. Sun Jia nodded. Yeah, the company should have been reorganized long ago. If I knew you earlier, this incident wouldn't have happened. Haven't you known me for a long time? Yang Ming blinked somewhat mockingly. You didn't trust me before. You thought I was just a freshman student. Isn't that because of your age? How would I know that you have so many wicked ideas? Sun Jia was not to be outdone. Besides, every time you looked for me, you wanted to do that with me, which made me a little annoyed. Really? Yang Ming broke into a sweat. He felt that he wasn't a person who was anxious for sex. Maybe the previous countermeasure was wrong. I thought I pushed Sun Jia down and she would get used to it, but I didn't expect that she didn't like it. Sun Jia rolled her eyes at Yang Ming. Apparently, she despised him for not having self-awareness. The 36th floor was the highest floor of the company, and it was also the place where the company's senior executives worked. The term senior executives probably came from this. Later, it referred to the company's leadership class. When they came to the door of the chairman's office, they heard voices inside. It seemed to be a meeting. Sun Jia knocked on the door. After a while, the door opened. It was Sun Hongjun's secretary. Miss Sun. Sun Hongjun instructed the secretary to tell the person at the door that there was a meeting inside. He would come back later, but the person facing was Sun Jia. The secretary obviously couldn't say that, so he said, "Please wait a moment. I will ask the chairman. He is in a meeting." Sun Jia nodded. She knew that the secretary was acting according to her father's orders, so she didn't embarrass him. Chapter 1286. Secretary Lu Kai really felt what life was like riding a roller coaster these days. The ups and downs came too fast. He graduated from university at the age of 22 and won Sun Hongjun's favor with excellent interview results. He was directly recruited as a secretary in the company's secretariat. After that, because of her innovative ideas and excellent writing skills, she was recognized by Sun Hongjun and promoted to his full-time secretary. This was a great honor for a college student who had just graduated from university. After a few years of experience, she would definitely be entrusted with important tasks by the company's chairman. This was a rule that had been passed down throughout history. Therefore, there were many people in the company who were jealous of him. However, they also had to curry favor with him. After all, Lu Kai was someone close to Sun Hongjun. One word from him could decide the fate of some people. Therefore, although the people in the company were jealous, they had to desperately curry favor with Lu Kai. The youth was proud. It was the best time of his life. Although Lu Kai was not complacent, he was inevitably proud. The company's director and department managers also had to talk to him with a pleasant face. Lu Kai was simply under one person and above thousands. Many people envied him for having a good future. After a few years, he would definitely go to a certain department to be a leader or be sent to a branch company as a manager. However, just a few days ago, everything for Lu Kai became a bubble. Tianlong suddenly came to power and took charge of the entire company. He began to clean up the dissidents. All the people who were close to Sun Hongjun were transferred to the idol department. If these people were directly fired, it would definitely cause many people to be dissatisfied. The group would be in danger. Therefore, Tianlong directly transferred these people to the idol department, and others could not say anything. He was originally Sun Hongjun's full-time secretary, but he suddenly became a typist in the document printing room. This kind of change made Lu Kai want to die. The people in the company who were originally flattering him changed their attitude in an instant. If they were not mocking and ridiculing him, they simply ignored him. When they met him, they pretended not to know him. Lu Kai thought about resigning, but at this moment, what good thing could he do? What's more, he was not willing to leave so dejectedly. How could he mix in the business circle of Donghai in the future? What would others think of him? Therefore, although he was coldly looked at, Lu Kai still swallowed his anger and did his job well. Tianlong transferred Lu Kai and the others to the idle department because he wanted them to resign because they could not stand the cold shoulder, but he did not expect Lu Kai to actually do it seriously. So, Tianlong did not care about him. Anyway, Lu Kai was now just a typist, and he had no right to speak. Although most people did not know the inside story of the company's regime change, they still knew who was at the helm. Although they didn't understand why Tianlong replaced Sun Hongjun to manage the company's operations for a few days, now that Sun Hongjun was once again in power, Lu Kai suddenly returned to Sun Hongjun's side from the data printing room and served as his secretary again. Moreover, he also served as the head of the secretarial department. The original head of the secretarial department was transferred to another department. This sudden change in personnel made those who thought that Lu Kai's power was gone somewhat unprepared. They had already laughed and scolded Lu Kai. Now that Lu Kai had suddenly become popular again, these people were almost regretting it. They didn't expect that Lu Kai would actually make a comeback. This was something these people didn't expect. It was obviously too late to curry favor with Lu Kai now. These people were worried about how to face Lu Kai in the future, but Lu Kai's mood was different. He had become cautious from his previous pride. For those who had laughed at him, Lu Kai now had no hatred. The hypocrisy of the world was like this. There was no need to be angry. Lu Kai, who returned to the stage, was more humble because he knew what it meant to have again after losing it. He would particularly cherish the hard-won position now. He had to do his job well. Lu Kai would not make a decision. He returned to the office and nodded gently to Sun Hongjun, who was speaking in the small conference room. Sun Hongjun said, "What's the matter?" "President Sun, Miss Sun is outside." Lu Kai said. "Oh. Little Jia is here. Let her come in. I don't know if Yang Ming is here with her." Sun Hongjun instructed Lu Kai. "There is a young gentleman who came with the miss," said Lu Kai. "Let them in." When Sun Hongjun heard that Yang Ming was here, he quickly said enthusiastically, "Quick." Lu Kai didn't understand why Sun Hongjun had such a big reaction, but he thought that the young man at the door was a very important person, so Lu Kai quickly ran to the door and said, "Miss Sun, this is Mr. Yang. The chairman invites you in." Sun Jia and Yang Ming followed Lu Kai into the office and saw Sun Hongjun, Sun San, Tianlong, and several company executives talking about something. Yang Ming had seen those executives yesterday. These people were shocked when they saw Yang Ming suddenly come in. They didn't care about Sun Hongjun's presence and stood up. Yang Ming was standing, so how could they dare to sit? "Mr. Yang Ming." The executives of these companies greeted Yang Ming. Sun Jia looked at Yang Ming with a smile, which made Yang Ming very embarrassed. He looked at the people who stood up and said helplessly, "You all sit down. I'm not the company's leader. Why are you greeting me?" Sun Hongjun and Tianlong were also secretly surprised. This matter could be turned around. Sure enough, Yang Ming's role couldn't be underestimated. These people were actually in awe of Yang Ming to such a degree. This was something that neither Sun Hongjun nor Tianlong expected. "Yang Ming, you came at the right time. I will let them pass down the order. I will hold a meeting with all the company's middle and high-level leaders." Sun Hongjun said, "But they are more concerned about when the detoxification can be done. Their antidote will be ineffective tonight. You don't have to worry about this. I will give it to you during the meeting." Yang Ming glanced at these people funnily. "The long-term antidote has been given to little Jia. She will hold a meeting with you later." Sun Hongjun and Tianlong held a meeting this time to explain the follow-up matters. They were about to leave for the island in Africa. The business here would be handed over to Sun Jia and Sun San. Sun Hongjun knew that Yang Ming was helping Sun Jia establish prestige, so he was very happy. He nodded and said, "Then, little Jia, you will preside over the meeting later." Okay. Sun Jia didn't give in. She also knew Yang Ming's plan. Her father was going to do a bigger business. She naturally wouldn't stop him. It's not early now. Ask Wang Renping to find all the people who went to his house yesterday for a meeting. Those people are the company's leaders. Yang Ming said, "Uncle Sun, it feels good to be in charge again, right?" "It's good. I feel that these people are more in awe of me than before." Sun Hongjun said with a smile, "But I haven't sat in the chairman's position for long, and I have to give it away." "You are going to do a bigger business. Why don't you continue to be the chairman?" said Yang Ming after listening. "Then forget it. I still want to do a big business." Sun Hongjun rubbed his hands and said, "As long as those people are as obedient as these people are now, I promise to be more obedient than them." Yang Ming said with a smile, "That place is under military management. It is my private island. If they make a mistake, they will be thrown into the sea to feed the fish." Sun Hongjun also laughed. Tianlong was cautious. He wasn't sure if this was Yang Ming's warning. If he didn't perform well, Yang Ming would throw him into the sea to feed the fish. Wang Renping was instructed to summon all the department leaders in the company to the conference room for a meeting. Yang Ming, Sun Jia, Sun Hongjun, Tianlong, and Sun San also walked to the conference room. Lu Kai went to prepare for the meeting with Wang Renping. All the company's leaders could be accommodated in a small conference room. Yang Ming let Sun Jia sit in the main seat. He and Sun Hongjun sat next to Sun Jia, followed by Sun San and Tianlong. The company's senior executives were restless all day. They were waiting for Wang Renping to gather them. No matter what, they had to know the result of giving the antidote at least. Otherwise, it would be really difficult to endure. So when Wang Renping called them, they quickly rushed to the conference room. However, when they arrived at the door, they saw Yang Ming sitting on the podium. These people didn't dare to be rash. They took the initiative to line up and entered the conference room to sit. Seeing that everyone was present, Yang Ming glanced at Sun Jia and signaled that she could speak. Sun Jia presided over the work of the Songjiang branch. She often attended this kind of meeting, so she wasn't nervous. She gently cleared her throat and said, "Everyone here, you are all the company's elites and the company's leaders. Why are you all frowning?" Sun Jia didn't use the normal opening remarks, but she used a sentence that was almost joking, but the people present couldn't laugh. Indeed, they were all the senior executives of the Sun's group. Just yesterday, they were all proud of their success. In the group, they were all great people and the object of others' flattery. However, after seeing Yang Ming, they knew that they were nothing in Yang Ming's eyes. He could decide their fate at any time. Therefore, these senior executives were very careful and complicated at the moment. In the past, even if Sun Hongjun had a meeting, they would take advantage of their seniority and think that they were the company's senior executives. They would do some small actions behind Sun Hongjun's back, such as talking to him, answering the phone, and walking away halfway. But now, no one dared to speak casually. The phone was already turned off. The atmosphere at the venue was so quiet for the first time. Sun Jia couldn't stand this serious atmosphere, so she made a joke, but it was obviously counterproductive. None of these people laughed. "Are you fucking dead?" Yang Ming frowned. This situation made Sun Jia very embarrassed. Even if these people were afraid of him, there was no need to be like this. So, Yang Ming couldn't help but swear, "Can't you just smile? Don't you feel uncomfortable with a straight face every day?" If they were directly kicked out of the company, they would really have no suitable place to go. They would face the danger of losing their jobs. Sun Jia saw that everyone's expressions were slightly relaxed, and she was very satisfied in her heart. She nodded and said, "I hope that you can do your job well. Then, I will let bygones be bygones, and I will not mention the past again. After I take over my father's position, I will count from this day onwards. The past is the past, and we will welcome a new page." Sun Jia's words were very encouraging and provocative. A few words dispelled the doubts of the people here. It seemed that Sun Jia was still quite good at grasping the hearts of these people. Most of these people were afraid that Sun Jia would settle accounts with them after taking office, so these people would be so cautious and frowning. There are no outsiders here. I think the problem you are most concerned about is the voodoo in your body. After saying the previous encouraging words, Sun Jia finally talked about the focus of this meeting. Sure enough, the people below all pricked up their ears and listened to Sun Jia's next words. This was a major event related to their life and death, and it could not be neglected. I will not give you the antidote for the voodoo now. After Sun Jia finished speaking, she watched the expressions of the people below. This is my intention, and also Yang Ming's intention. Sure enough, the people below all showed disappointed expressions, but this was not unexpected. Originally, they did not expect Yang Ming to give them the antidote, at least not now. However, after a while, Sun Jia said something that made them a little excited. Sun Jia paused and said, "Although I will not give you the antidote, I will give you the medicine to suppress the voodoo. This time is different from the previous one. It can be suppressed for about a year, so you can work with peace of mind. You don't have to worry about the voodoo during this time." Sun Jia took in the expressions of the people below. She saw their expectations turn to disappointment, and it was best to reignite hope again. This was a very pleasant feeling. Sun Jia really wanted to hug and kiss Yang Ming. It was him who gave her this feeling of being superior. This feeling was really good. Sometimes it was also a kind of enjoyment to have the final say. Unlike before, although she was also a leader of the company, some people who took advantage of their seniority were really difficult to deal with. Seeing that Sun Jia had easily controlled the situation, Yang Ming was also very satisfied. However, he was still very refreshed for Sun Jia to make these people suffer a little. When these people heard that Sun Jia would give them the antidote that could suppress the voodoo for a year, they were finally happy. At least, they did not have to worry about these things for a year. After a year, if they did well, then it was reasonable to detoxify themselves. Even if they were not detoxified, it was acceptable to take the antidote once a year. It was much better than taking it once a day. Sun Jia also said some development plans for the company's future road, and then Sun Hongjun announced a new round of personnel appointments for the company. Sun Jia became the group's chairman, Sun San became the general manager, and the positions of the others remained unchanged. Lu Kai followed Sun Hongjun to Africa. Lu Kai also understood that he did not have a family anyway. It was the same wherever he went. This choice might be a turning point in his life. If he grasped it well, he might have a meteoric rise in the future. Wang Renping distributed the antidote. Everyone received one, and the extra was returned to Sun Jia. The people present were very modest and polite. They did not fight for it. Who dared to grab one more? Although everyone wanted to get one more, if they took one more at this time, they might not get one at all. Everyone knew how terrifying Yang Ming's skill was. After the antidote was distributed, the meeting was over. The department managers of these companies were dispersed to do their own things. Yang Ming and Sun Jia were also ready to return to Songjiang. Although Sun Jia was the group's chairman, it was nothing more than a nominal position. Sun San was still responsible for most of the actual work. At least, Sun San would be responsible for it until he graduated from Donghua University. Therefore, Sun San had become the actual controller of this company. There was no doubt about Sun San's loyalty. Moreover, after Tianlong's incident, Sun San should also see Yang Ming's strength. What's more, the top management in the company had not been cured of the voodoo. They would naturally execute Sun San's normal work orders, but once he wanted them to follow him to do something else, these people would not do it even if they were beaten to death. Who was stupid? Yang Ming could forgive them the first time, but the second time, they would make mistakes again and again. How could Yang Ming let them go? I didn't expect this meeting to be very successful. Sun Hongjun had a feeling of envy. I have been sitting on this rostrum for so long, but these people have never been so cautious and silent. Sun Jia also heard her father's jealousy and smiled. I heard that Yang Ming's men in Africa are all under militarized management. After you go, you will feel like a local tyrant. Sun Hongjun blushed a little when his thoughts were exposed, but he felt that this was the happiest moment in his life. Everything was thanks to Yang Ming. Uncle Sun, you and Uncle Tian should get ready and hand over all the work here. Don't continue with Uncle Tian's gangs. If there are really people you can trust, hand them over. Those things aren't a long-term solution. Yang Ming had always been not optimistic about the underworld gangs and the like. Otherwise, he would not let Bao Sonli and Ho Shinhan go on the right path. The previous control of Songjiang's underworld was also to strangle this road so that others could not get involved in the underworld and return a stable environment to Songjiang. In particular, Yang Ming was now a public servant, so he could no longer do those crooked things to give people an excuse. Since there was this opportunity now, it was right to let Tianlong get away as soon as possible. Tianlong nodded. Although he was reluctant, he also knew that Yang Ming was doing it for his own good. Moreover, Tianlong was about to leave for Africa. The things here should be explained clearly. I understand. I will deal with the things here as soon as possible. Okay, little Jia and I will go back to Songjiang tonight. We have already started school there. We have been out for so long, and we have missed a lot of classes. Uncle Sun, after you are done here, call me. I will arrange for you to go to Africa, said Yang Ming. Sun Jia was a graduate student, so it was fine. However, Yang Ming was just a freshman in the second semester, and he skipped classes unscrupulously. Although the tutor, Xia Yongqiang, didn't say anything because of Sister Xiao Qing's face, Yang Ming couldn't skip classes unscrupulously. That was not giving Xia Yongqiang face. Therefore, after the meeting, Yang Ming and Sun Jia left the Sun's group and embarked on the road back to Songjiang. Although Sun Hongjun was reluctant, he still wanted to have a deep talk with Yang Ming, but it was too late. He decided to talk to Yang Ming in detail before he went to Africa. Don't you know how to drive for a while? I have been driving for a day. Do you want to tire me out? Sun Jia frowned and stared at Yang Ming. I thought you liked to drive. Then, let's change. Yang Ming looked at Sun Jia innocently, but he found that Sun Jia looked very beautiful when she frowned. Little Jia, when you squint your eyes, they look like crescent moons. I'm being serious with you. Why are you talking about my eyes again? Sun Jia didn't know what expression to use to answer Yang Ming. Anyway, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm also being serious. When you squint your eyes, you look like the heroine in comics. It's rare. Yang Ming looked at Sun Jia's eyes carefully. Why don't you close your eyes again and let me see? Don't talk nonsense. It's useless. Sun Jia was particularly embarrassed by Yang Ming. She stopped the car. Now, it's your turn to drive. Let's see if you still have time to look at my eyes. Yes. I can drive with my eyes closed. Yang Ming smiled and got off the car to change seats with Sun Jia. Sure enough, his eyes were staring at Sun Jia. He didn't even look in front when he started the car. Sun Jia was frightened. Don't look. Do you want to die? Don't you know that it's dangerous to drive like this? Sun Jia widened her eyes and said in a hurry, Are you kidding with our lives? I said that I can drive with my eyes closed. Yang Ming blinked at Sun Jia, but the control in his hand was not vague. He overtook a Mazda 6 in front and sped on the highway. Can you overtake like this? Sun Jia was completely dumbfounded. She saw that Yang Ming was staring at her intently, but he could still overtake. This was incredible. Yang Ming knew that Sun Jia was very smart, and her relationship with Xiao Qing was very close. It could even be said that it was unusually close. It was no less than his friendship with Xiao Qing. Therefore, Sun Jia would definitely have doubts about some of his strange actions. Especially, his relationship with Sun Jia was one step closer. She was involved in his life, and she would also find out about his special abilities. In this case, Yang Ming might as well tell her about his special abilities. Anyway, it was not a secret now. At least Xia Shui and Xia Bingbao knew about it. With Yang Ming's current strength, he was not afraid that this matter would be spread out. Someone would harm him. In the past, he didn't want others to know about his special abilities because Yang Ming's strength was not strong enough. Now that he had the identity of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, and he was the direct disciple of the King of Assassins, Yang Ming was not afraid that someone would harm him. Anyway, he already had a behind-the-scenes boss. It was not an itch to have more lice. The most important thing was that Yang Ming trusted Sun Jia. Yang Ming had already understood Sun Jia's character. Sun Jia belonged to the kind of girl who was suspicious but smart and self-aware. She had independent thoughts and judgment, so she had always maintained an ambiguous relationship with Yang Ming, but she was unwilling to confirm the final relationship. However, now that Sun Jia had identified Yang Ming, she would follow him without reservation. Yang Ming had no need to hide it from her, so Yang Ming used this as an excuse to lead the topic. If he said it directly, it would seem a bit abrupt. However, with such a foreshadowing, the facts were in front of her, and Sun Jia would no longer feel that there was anything wrong with it. Yes, I said that you can open it with your eyes closed. Yang Ming still didn't look in front. He still stared at Sun Jia. You actually have acne at this age. What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean by my age? Do you think I'm old? Sun Jia almost went crazy when she heard Yang Ming's words. This kid didn't drive properly, but he actually said some strange words. If she knew this, she wouldn't have asked him to drive, so that she wouldn't be scared. You don't need to show your driving skills. Do you want to scare me to death? Yang Ming overtook another car in this effort. Sun Jia only felt that her heart was fooled, and she almost had a nervous breakdown. No, I just said your actual age, but I can't see it from your appearance. You seem to be younger than me. Yang Ming smiled and reached out to touch Sun Jia's hair. You really have a small P on your forehead. Although the automatic car didn't need to be in gear and one hand could be idle, wasn't Yang Ming too dangerous? One hand was holding the steering wheel, and the other hand was flirting. His eyes were not looking in front. Sun Jia didn't expect Yang Ming to be so extreme. This wasn't a movie. Wasn't this difficult action too much? Let's change. Let me drive. Sun Jia endured the pain in her heart, took a breath, and said to Yang Ming. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Yang Ming saw that Sun Jia was really scared, so he smiled and said, I have a secret to tell you. Do you want to hear it? What secret? Sun Jia was confused by Yang Ming. At this time, she wasn't in the mood to listen to any secrets. You drive properly first. It's not too late to talk about other things. Okay, then drive properly. Yang Ming turned his head, straightened his body, and said, "Are you wearing pink underwear and bra today?" "Ah." Sun Jia was stunned, and then she was stunned. "How did you know?" She had never taken off her clothes in front of Yang Ming. It should be said that she had been imprisoned for a few days. Sun Jia didn't take off her clothes at all. At this time, how did Yang Ming suddenly know the color of her underwear? And it was so accurate. "Did you peek at it on the roller coaster?" "You didn't ask me to look. Besides, you couldn't see underneath." Yang Ming shrugged. "And I also know that your toenails are painted with blue nail polish." If Yang Ming had just peeked at the color of her bra on the roller coaster and speculated the color of her underwear, it was still possible because girls like to wear matching underwear. Although they couldn't show it to outsiders, in many cases, it was for their own comfort. Yang Ming could infer this, but Yang Ming definitely couldn't infer the nail polish on her toes. Sun Jia had recently been intimate with Yang Ming, and her toes were not painted with nail polish. This bottle of nail polish was bought a few days ago when she was shopping with Zhao Ying and Xiao Qing. She had only painted it a few days ago. How could Yang Ming know? Even if Xiao Qing told him, he wouldn't know that she had coincidentally painted the nail polish that she bought that day. That time, she didn't just buy this bottle. She also bought many other colors. This series of unreasonableness made Sun Jia open her mouth wide. "How did you know?" "This is the secret I want to tell you." Yang Ming saw that he had completely shocked Sun Jia, and he was a little proud. "Do you still remember that time when we were attacked in the hotel? The gangster ran into the private room. I could accurately find their location through the door panel and shoot them with a gun." Chapter 1288. After listening to what Yang Ming said, Sun Jia also remembered the strangeness of that incident. At that time, Sun Jia was a bit baffled, but because there were too many things, and she hadn't seen Yang Ming, Sun Jia couldn't ask. Until this time, when she was put under house arrest by Tian Long and Yang Ming rescued her, he was busy with the company's affairs, so he didn't think of this. But now that Yang Ming mentioned it, Sun Jia recalled the details at that time. At that time, Yang Ming used a master key and a set of unknown tools to open the door lock of the private room where the criminals were hiding. Then, he didn't open the door at all. Instead, he fired a shot directly at the door panel and hit Old San's right leg. This couldn't be an accidental phenomenon. No one had such accuracy. Sun Jia didn't believe that Yang Ming was lucky. If he hurt the hostages, it wouldn't be a joke. Well, even if this time Yang Ming took a risk, then Yang Ming's second shot was really incredible. He fired a second shot at the bathroom door and directly hit the boss inside. Not only was the boss and Old San inexplicable, but Sun Jia also felt that it was incredible that Yang Ming could shoot with the door closed. Could it be that Yang Ming had X-ray vision? Sun Jia thought of the details at that time. At this moment, her face showed a puzzled expression. "It's really strange. How did you do it?" "How did I do it?" Yang Ming smiled. "You are so smart. Haven't you association anything yet?" Sun Jia saw that Yang Ming was being mysterious, so she couldn't help but frown. She pondered and carefully tasted Yang Ming's words. Previously, Yang Ming could actually say the color of her underwear and the color of her toe polish. When she thought of the previous incident in the hotel, then the answer was obvious. Sun Jia wasn't a fool. With such an obvious connection, if she couldn't guess it, then she wasn't Sun Jia. You have X-ray vision." Although Sun Jia guessed it, she wasn't sure. After all, this was too weird. Normal people couldn't accept it. Yang Ming actually had a special ability. Almost. When Yang Ming saw that Sun Jie had guessed it, he didn't deny it and nodded. You are smart. You got it right away. Nonsense, do you think I'm a fool? Sun Jie glared at Yang Ming and then ignored him. She closed her eyes and thought about it. After a while, she opened her eyes and looked at Yang Ming suspiciously. Really? You're not playing with me, are you? Do you think I still need to trick you now? Yang Ming shrugged and explained, it is also because of our current relationship. I feel that there is no need to hide these things from you, so I told you. Sister Xiaoqing already knew this before. If you don't believe me, you can ask her when you go back. Sun Jie looked at Yang Ming and didn't speak. She seemed to be digesting this somewhat incomprehensible news. Yang Ming has X-ray vision. Then, wouldn't he be able to see through me easily in the past? Sun Jie shook her head. How could I have this idea? The key point of the problem now was that Yang Ming actually had X-ray vision. This ability was not trivial. If it was used well, it could instantly amass hundreds of millions of wealth, but it could also do some bad things. What the hell is going on? After a while, Sun Jie asked, you tell me in detail. Do you have X-ray vision or not? X-ray vision is certain. I have already proven it to you before. Yang Ming said, even if I turn my head or close my eyes, I can see things in all directions. This is why I could still drive when I saw you before. Sun Jie nodded and didn't speak. What Yang Ming told her was too shocking. Even if Sun Jie's psychological quality was very good, it was difficult to digest at this moment. Sun Jie took a deep breath. If Yang Ming's X-ray vision ability was shocking enough, then the ability to see in all directions with his eyes closed was just like the Terminators in the movies. Why didn't you tell me before? Although Sun Jie was now shocked, she didn't doubt Yang Ming's words. After all, the facts were in front of her. There was no other reason to explain these incredible things except X-ray vision. You were wavering before, and you didn't say that you wanted to be my girlfriend. How would I dare to tell you? Yang Ming bared his teeth at Sun Jie. If I told you in advance, you wouldn't have a choice. If you don't want to be my girlfriend, I can only kill you. Then, I can't go back on my words now. Sun Jie asked with a smile after listening. What do you think? Yang Ming said, if you want to go back on your words, I will put you under house arrest again. You dare. Sun Jie said, aren't you too overbearing? However, Sun Jie liked Yang Ming's overbearing feeling. She was already overbearing enough. She didn't want her boyfriend to be weaker than her. She didn't want him to be as submissive as Wu Yunxing without any manliness. Looking at you, I don't have a chance to fulfill it. Yang Ming naturally understood Sun Jie. As long as she decided on something, she wouldn't change it. Therefore, this was also the reason why Yang Ming could confide in her boldly. He wasn't afraid that Sun Jie would betray him. Sun Jie would be a big help to him if he was with her. Therefore, Yang Ming told her everything. In this way, Yang Ming could discuss anything with her. You are quite confident. Sun Jie sighed. But you are right. I won't break up with you, but I will let you break up with your other girlfriends. I want to monopolize you. No way. Yang Ming smiled awkwardly. He felt that Sun Jie's tone didn't seem to be joking. It seemed that she really wanted to do this. He felt a little guilty and didn't dare to continue. Why? Are you afraid? Asked Sun Jie. From her expression, he couldn't see what she was thinking at the moment. What is there to be afraid of? I don't think anyone can influence my decision. You can't either. Yang Ming looked at Sun Jia and said firmly. Oh. Sun Jia didn't directly answer Yang Ming's words. Instead, she blinked at Yang Ming. I know that no one can change the things you have decided on. Then why did you say it? Yang Ming looked at Sun Jia strangely. Since you know me, you should know that I won't do that. Of course, you won't, but I will persuade them to leave you. Sun Jia looked at Yang Ming with a smile and said word by word, I will explain the stakes to them and let them pursue their own happiness. Do whatever you want. Yang Ming's voice was a little cold. He didn't expect Sun Jia to do this. This made Yang Ming feel a little uncomfortable, but he endured it and didn't say anything. I was just joking with you. Are you serious? Sun Jia felt that she seemed to be a little overboard. Even if she really thought so, she couldn't say it in front of Yang Ming. What's more, it was even more difficult to do what she said. Would Qin Mengyan or Shao Qing leave? Obviously, it was possible to imagine it, but it was almost impossible to implement it. Sun Jia was just joking. In fact, she didn't intend to do it. I was joking. Yang Ming also felt that he was too serious. He smiled. If Qin Mengyan could be driven away by Sun Jia, then she wouldn't be Qin Mengyan. Although she didn't look like a strong woman like Sun Jia, when she was tough, she wasn't worse than Sun Jia. She even dared to scold Zhao Ying. Sun Jia would definitely embarrass Qin Mengyan. No, I just don't like to hear such words. Yang Ming shook his head. But it's a headache to expect you to get along well with each other. As long as you don't fight to the death and create trouble for me, it's fine. Sun Jia saw that Yang Ming's mood wasn't very good, so she didn't continue to talk about it. In general, Yang Ming was cheerful and didn't care about her jokes. However, he showed a big reaction just now. It seemed that Yang Ming was very taboo about this topic. Then let's talk about your special ability. Can you see through things since you were a child? Sun Jia took the initiative to change the topic. The previous topic was a bit boring, and she didn't want to mention it again. Of course not. Yang Ming shook his head. I also got this ability by chance last year. It was probably not long before I met you. Then, have you ever peeked at me before? Sun Jia calculated that it wasn't long ago, less than a year ago. Do I still need to peek? Yang Ming smiled and looked at Sun Jia. I saw everything on the first day I met you, right? You're lucky. Sun Jia remembered the previous things and felt that it was a bit strange. On the first day she met Yang Ming, she had a relationship with him by accident. It seemed that she was the one who initiated it. I still have to thank my sister. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't know you. Yang Ming thought of Yang Li. He didn't know how she was now. She should have returned to school a few days ago. After that meal, I haven't seen her. I haven't seen Lu Liang and Zhang Xiaodan. I don't know how Yang Li made friends with those kinds of people. They are too uncultured. Sun Jia thought of what Lu Liang said before the meal. Now it seems that they are just strangers. It's not worthwhile to be angry with them. Yang Ming waved his hand. They should have left together, right? Yang Ming didn't guess wrong. Not long ago, Yang Li and Zhang Xiaodan returned to school, and Lu Liang followed them. After returning, Yang Li advised Zhang Xiaodan to break up with Lu Liang, but Zhang Xiaodan was somewhat reluctant because she remembered her relationship with Lu Liang for more than a year. However, Lu Liang's conduct was really not good. Zhang Xiaodan also saw it. Even if they didn't break up now, her parents wouldn't agree when she brought him home. Sooner or later, they would break up. It was better to have a short pain than a long pain. Therefore, under Yang Li's persuasion, she broke up with Lu Liang. Lu Liang naturally wouldn't agree. He looked for Zhang Xiaodan a few times. At first, Zhang Xiaodan could patiently listen to him and reason with him. However, Lu Liang seemed to be stubborn. She said many things to him, but he just couldn't understand. Previously, Zhang Xiaodan had some feelings and sympathy for him, but later, it was only disgust and disgust. She felt that Lu Liang wasn't a man at all. Every time he came to her, other than begging her not to break up with him and to give him another chance, he didn't say anything else. He never recognized his shortcomings and mistakes. Whatever Zhang Xiaodan said, he always had a reason to refute. If this could make Zhang Xiaodan change her mind, it was simply impossible. Therefore, the final scene of the two people breaking up had happened. Lu Liang, as usual, asked Zhang Xiaodan out. Lu Liang, what else do you have to say? In the first few days, Zhang Xiaodan could still patiently keep the appointment. However, these days, Lu Liang and she talked about the same thing every day. The meaning was the same, so Zhang Xiaodan was somewhat impatient. Xiaodan, give me another chance. I know you still love me. Don't you love me anymore? Lu Liang was still very infatuated with Zhang Xiaodan, but this kind of infatuation was close to a kind of perversion. He couldn't even accept Zhang Xiaodan talking and shaking hands with other boys. His possessiveness had reached an extreme level. Lu Liang, don't always think that you are infallible. I have already said that I am tired of you. Zhang Xiaodan was disappointed with Lu Liang. She decided to completely lay her cards on the table this time and break up with him. Every time you come to me, you never recognize your shortcomings. Instead, you always want me to give you a chance. When did you recognize your mistakes? Yang Li is right. You are an egomaniac. You have no manners. If I take you out, I will offend people. Don't come to me again in the future. Xiaodan. Looking at Zhang Xiaodan, who turned around and strode away, Lu Liang's heart was broken. He couldn't accept this fact. He thought that since he and Zhang Xiaodan had such a long relationship, it would be fine if he talked to her nicely. However, he didn't expect Zhang Xiaodan to completely break up with him. It must be Yang Li, that bitch, who interfered. A huge hatred took root and sprouted in his heart. I just heard Zhang Xiaodan mention Yang Li. Yes, it must be Yang Li. Yang Li and Zhang Xiaodan lived in the same dormitory. It must be Yang Li who said something to Zhang Xiaodan that caused Zhang Xiaodan to break up with me. At that time, I offended Yang Li's brother at the party. Yang Li would definitely hold a grudge. After returning to school, she began to destroy the good things between me and Zhang Xiaodan. Lu Liang's heart ignited a flame of anger. He wanted revenge. He would never let Yang Li go easily. Of course, Yang Ming still didn't know that at that banquet, such a contradiction was caused by a small conflict. It also brought a lot of trouble to Yang Li. At this moment, Yang Ming and Sun Jia were on their way back to Songjiang. At the same time, in Mount Jing, the news that Sui's group's chairman, Sui Yuejin, was shot to death in the group building was also announced. This kind of thing couldn't be hidden. They could only solve the case as soon as possible. The pressure of the Mount Jing police was still very great. All the people on duty in the group that night were killed. No one was left alive. Most of these people were killed with one shot. This showed that the villain was ruthless and experienced. He was a veteran who was proficient in assassination. He was definitely not a novice. Moreover, the villain was very careful. He removed the hard disk in the surveillance video recorder inside the building. Even the hard disk of the backup data machine was removed. This also showed that the villain was a professional-level assassin. He was very proficient in anti-reconnaissance and did not leave any clues. This made it difficult for the police to solve the case. There were no witnesses and no surveillance video. They could only start with Sui Yuejin's enemies. However, Sui Yuejin was a businessman. He usually offended a lot of people. As long as there was business, there would be disputes. If they wanted to investigate from this, they couldn't find clues in a short time. In a private villa in Mount Jing, the behind-the-scenes boss and Huang Yukai sat on the sofa, watching the TV news report on the progress of Sui Yuejin's murder case. It's time to do it. The momentum outside is almost there. Now the police have no clues in their hands. As long as we release this videotape, even if Yang Ming doesn't die, he will lose a layer of skin. Huang Yukai snorted coldly. On your side, is the editing of the videotape done? Don't worry. My subordinates are all professionals. It is naturally not a problem to do this. The behind-the-scenes boss nodded. The tape is done. We can watch it first. Huang Yukai nodded. He took the videotape from the behind-the-scenes boss and put it into the video recorder. It seemed that the behind-the-scenes boss's subordinates were really talented. The editing of this tape was seamless. Even the Hollywood production staff was just like this. Not only was the timing on the videotape very good, but the connection of the characters was also very natural. No one could find any problems. I didn't expect it to be done so well. Huang Yukai sighed. I thought the police would find flaws. After all, the technical people in the police force are not easy to fool. I asked a friend to do this. His company does editing for Hollywood. The behind-the-scenes boss said very plainly. Huang Yukai didn't expect that it was really a tape for a Hollywood production company. He couldn't help but admire the behind-the-scenes boss even more, but he also doubted why he wanted to deal with Yang Ming. It seemed that the behind-the-scenes boss was very powerful. Not only was the wealth in his hands amazing, but he also seemed to have friends all over the world. With his current power, he still wanted to deal with Yang Ming. This was really incredible. Not to mention others, just his sister, Alice. Huang Yukai checked on the internet afterward, and he was so surprised that his jaw almost dropped. One of the most powerful women in the European upper-class society was also the youngest and the most mysterious. Her social circle was so wide that it was amazing. The people invited to the party held on the Alice were celebrities from all over the world. These people were still flocking to it. It could be seen how great Alice's power was. The wealth that Alice alone had was innumerable. It was imaginable how much wealth the behind-the-scenes boss had. Such a powerful person came to Songjiang and was willing to be an undercover by Yang Ming's side to seduce Yang Ming. This made Huang Yukai even more puzzled. However, he was also more proud of his original choice. It seemed that the cooperation with the behind-the-scenes boss was his wisest choice. If such a powerful person like the behind-the-scenes boss couldn't achieve his goal, then no one else could help him. Chapter 1289. So, in the early hours of the morning, a cleaner in Mount Jing found a black plastic bag on the side of the road when he was cleaning the street. It seemed that someone had lost it because the handle of the plastic bag was broken. It must have been accidentally dropped on the ground. Cleaning the road would often pick up some valuable things. Old Lee had already found out the experience. Especially in the early morning shift, he could pick up the most things. Although it was tiring to get up early, Old Lee still insisted on working the morning shift. For decades, even if his wife didn't have a job, he still relied on cleaning and tidying to feed his family. Among them, there was this secret manual of picking up things that wasn't passed on. The road was dark at night, and there were more people drinking. The probability of losing things on the road was higher, especially when it was hard to see clearly, so the possibility of being picked up by others was relatively low. Unlike during the day, if something fell, the passers-by and the scavengers would pick it up without waiting for you to take action. Old Lee saw the black plastic bag on the side of the road and was a little excited. What would be inside? A bag of banknotes. However, Old Lee shook his head. Banknotes should not be wrapped in this broken plastic bag. What would it be? Old Lee looked around and found that no one was around. He quickly picked up the black plastic bag and opened it, but he found that it was a videotape. In this era, videotapes were already very rare. Old Lee took out the videotape and carefully looked back and forth, but he found that there was no label on the videotape. He didn't know what kind of tape it was. Thinking of this door that was popular on the internet recently, Old Lee's heart tightened. Could this be a door that someone knocked on and intended to blackmail others? Thinking of this, Old Lee's heart thumped. Could it be that there was a video of passion inside? Thinking of this, Old Lee felt that it was very possible. He hid the videotape close to his body. He planned to go to Old Wong's house next door to enjoy it together after work. Old Wong lost his wife in his middle age. His children were already married. He was the only one in the family, so it was just right for him to watch this kind of video. So after Old Lee got off work, he bought half a caddy of pig head meat and a bottle of Red Star Erguoto and ran to Old Wong's house. He was going to enjoy it together. Old Wong was watching the morning news at home when Old Lee pushed the door open and walked in. Seeing the wine and meat in Old Lee's hands, he wondered, "I say, Old Lee, why did you bring wine and meat here so early in the morning?" Hee hee. Old Lee smiled mysteriously and put the meat on the table. Then, he took out the videotape from his pocket and said, "Look, what is this?" Videotape. Old Wong was stunned, then he saw Old Lee's mysterious smile. It seemed to be a company or an office. Maybe it's a secret shot. Isn't it popular to take secret shots now? This door and that door. Old Lee explained, "You will know if you continue to watch." Old Wong nodded and ate a mouthful of pig head meat. He continued to watch. Not long after, Yang Ming appeared on the screen. "Ah, I remember where this is. This is inside the Sways Group building." Old Lee slapped his thigh and exclaimed, "I know. I cleaned up the trash for them. I went in. This is inside the Sways Group." Old Wong just watched the news report. The report also showed some shots of the interior of the Sways Group building. After being reminded by Old Lee, he immediately said, "Yes, it is indeed. I just saw the news. It's this building. Look at the time written on it. Isn't it the day of the crime?" Old Lee also widened his eyes. Sure enough, the time on the screen showed the day of the crime. Moreover, it was the night of the crime. Then, isn't this videotape the most crucial evidence that the police are looking for? The young man on the screen is probably the person who killed that night, right? Thinking of this, Old Lee couldn't help but be excited. I can actually pick up such an important tape while sweeping the street. This must be the criminal who took away the criminal evidence and accidentally lost it again. Old Wong, this time we are going to be rich. This videotape must be what the police are looking for. We are going to have 500,000 yuan soon. Old Lee shouted excitedly. Old Wong also widened his eyes in surprise. "Old man, this time you are really going to be rich. You don't have to worry about your son's college tuition anymore. I said that I will give you 200,000 yuan. I will do what I say. What's more, if it weren't for the news you just told me, I would have thrown this tape away as garbage after seeing it myself. I wouldn't have gotten this money." Old Lee said quickly. "You don't need to. How about this? When you get the money, just treat me to pig head meat and sorghum liquor every day." Old Wong saw that Old Lee insisted, so he said it. "How much money can that be? It doesn't cost much in a year." Old Lee waved his hand again and again. "Okay, don't argue. This is a big deal. Let's contact the police first. It's a matter of life and death. We can't always think about the bonus, said old Wang. That's true. I will call now. Old Li nodded and picked up the phone on the table. Hello, is this the Mount Jing police station? I am looking for Police Officer Zhang, who is in charge of Sui Yuejin's case mentioned in the news broadcast. After a while, Old Li heard a middle-aged man's voice on the phone. Hello, I am Police Officer Zhang. Do you have any clues? Yes, I am a sanitation worker. When I was cleaning the road on West Avenue this morning, I found a black plastic tape. After opening it, I found a videotape inside. Old Li said, I went home and put the videotape into the video recorder. I was shocked. It was actually the surveillance video of the Sui's group building at the time of the crime. Old Li finished in one breath and breathed a sigh of relief. When Police Officer Zhang heard that a sanitation worker had picked up such an important clue, his expression immediately became serious. You mean, what you picked up is the surveillance video of the Sui's group on the night of the crime? Yes, there is also a young man in the video who went to the Sui's group. Old Li said, do you want this clue? Can you come to the police station now? Forget it. I will go over. Police Officer Zhang was afraid that Old Li would have an accident on the way and lose the evidence. The clues that were hard to come by would be broken, so he said, where are you now? I am. Wait, if I provide this clue, will there be a reward of 500,000 yuan? Asked Old Li, of course. If it is confirmed that the video in your hand is indeed the surveillance video of the Sui's group building that night, the family will fulfill their promise. After the case is solved, we will also give you a corresponding additional reward, said Police Officer Zhang. That's great. I am in the Nanwan community, Building 3, Unit 2, 101. Come over quickly, said Old Li. After hanging up the phone, Old Li said excitedly, 500,000 yuan. I heard that there are additional rewards. This time, I am really rich. Old Wang was also very happy. He didn't expect that Old Li, who had cleaned the streets for most of his life, could finally get such an unexpected fortune. Police Officer Zhang was under a lot of pressure these days. Sui Yuejin was a social celebrity in Mount Jing. The group involved all walks of life, so whether it was the pressure from the city leaders or the pressure from his family, it made him breathless. When he suddenly received this call today, Police Officer Zhang was excited. He didn't dare to neglect, so he quickly called his assistant and rushed to the Nanwan community. Captain Zhang, do you think that we are happy for nothing? Asked the assistant, Xiao Tang, while driving. It shouldn't be. I heard that the sanitation worker was very conclusive. He should have seen such a videotape. As for whether it was from the Sui's group on the day of the incident, it still needs to be identified technically. Xiao Tang nodded. This case is really stressful. Many people are watching. I really hope to solve the case as soon as possible. Captain Zhang nodded. He was the captain of the criminal investigation team of the Mount Jing police station. The pressure on him could be imagined. He hoped that the clue this time was true and could help solve the case. The car was parked downstairs in the Nanwan community. Captain Zhang took Xiao Tang to the address mentioned by Old Li when he reported the case. He knocked on the door, and soon, the door was opened. Old Li was so excited that he couldn't control himself. He waited at the door. When he saw a police car parked nearby, he opened the door first. You are Police Officer Zhang, right? Please come in, said Old Li quickly. Captain Zhang nodded and said, I am Police Officer Zhang. This is my assistant, Police Officer Tang. Are you Li Dashi? Old Li nodded quickly. Yes, it's me. I called the police. You came really fast. Captain Zhang confirmed the identity of Old Li and entered the house. Old Wang was ready and pressed the play button of the videotape directly. Captain Zhang originally wanted to take a closer look at the videotape after going back, but since Old Wang had already played it, it wasn't too late to go back after watching it. With Captain Zhang's many years of eyesight, he saw that the video should be real at a glance. Especially when he saw the time displayed on the electronic clock inside the Sway's group building, he was even more convinced. He couldn't help but be a little excited. It seems that the case is settled. After making a statement for Old Li, Captain Zhang and Little Tang took the videotape and promised that he would redeem part of the family's reward as soon as possible. Of course, all of this was a trap and strategy set by the behind-the-scenes boss and Huang Yukai. If this videotape was directly sent to the Mount Jing police station anonymously, it might have the opposite effect. The police would definitely have doubts about who sent this videotape. In that case, the effect would not be as shocking as this accidental acquisition. The reason why it was necessary to copy it into the videotape instead of continuing to store it in the hard drive was that most people might not look at the contents of the hard drive when they picked it up. It was more likely that they would directly sell it or format it to continue using it. Moreover, not everyone knew how to connect the hard drive to the computer. It might be a waste of effort. It was better to make a more popular videotape. Most people would definitely be curious about the contents after picking it up. Even if they didn't have a videotape at home, they would play it at their relatives' and friends' houses. Recently, Sui Yuejin's case had become very big. Most people believed that as long as they watched this videotape, they would definitely association to call the police. In fact, Huang Youcai's method was not wrong. Sure enough, after Old Li picked up the videotape and watched it, he went to the police. This videotape fell into the hands of the police. Captain Zhang, isn't the surveillance data lost in the Sway's group building a hard drive? How could it be copied into a videotape? On the way, Little Tang asked with some doubts. I am also a bit puzzled. The source of this videotape is very strange. That Li Dashi should have no problem. I have seen his work permit. I have also confirmed with the sanitation department in the bureau. He is indeed a cleaner in the section near the Sway's group. Captain Zhang said, who threw this videotape on the side of the road. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, we need to have a meeting to discuss it. As for the authenticity of the videotape, we still need to do a forensic technical identification. It can't be seen with the naked eye. Little Tang nodded. It seemed that the case was not very simple. It was not easy to solve the case. Even if there was this videotape, it did not mean that this videotape was real. Back at the police station, Captain Zhang was not idle. After reporting the current situation to the bureau chief, he made a few copies of the videotape and sent them to the professional technicians for forensic identification to determine whether the images on the videotape had been modified and edited. Captain Zhang himself went to the Sway's group with Little Tang. They were going to investigate whether the perpetual calendar in the Sway's group corridor had been touched. If there were no traces of tampering, it at least showed that this video did indeed happen on the night of the crime. In the past few days, Captain Zhang and Little Tang had been frequent visitors to the Sway's group. The two people easily entered the group and came to the place where the perpetual calendar was in the video. Little Tang, you go and find a ladder. I will go up and take a look. Captain Zhang instructed Little Tang. This perpetual calendar was relatively high up. If one wanted to adjust the time, they must use external tools such as a ladder to achieve it. Therefore, it was still somewhat difficult for counterfeiting. It didn't take long for the ladder to be brought over. Captain Zhang went up the ladder and carefully checked the surroundings of the perpetual calendar. Because the perpetual calendar was relatively high up, it had naturally accumulated a thick layer of dust after being hung for a long time. It could not be cleaned usually, so the adjustment buttons were also full of dust. Captain Zhang shook his head. There were no traces of tampering on the dust, at least it looked like this with the naked eye. In other words, the perpetual calendar time shown on the videotape should be the real time at that time. This perpetual calendar should not have been tampered with for a long time. This dust could not be faked. It was formed over a long time, and it was different from man-made. However, he didn't know if there was a master of counterfeiting, so Captain Zhang decided to let someone do another appraisal. He ordered Little Tang to set up a cordon around the perpetual calendar to prevent unrelated people from approaching. Then, he rushed back to the police station with Little Tang. This videotape was originally recorded by switching between multiple sets of shots, so it was even more difficult to determine whether it had been edited. They could only compare the sequence of shots set up in the Swayze group's monitoring video equipment to see if the images of this videotape could match one by one. Chapter 1290. However, this videotape was re-edited by a professional by the behind-the-scenes boss. The scenes that couldn't be seen by the police in the middle were replaced with the same shot at a similar time period. Therefore, the final result of the identification was basically consistent. There was no modification in the video, but only a time-lapse edit, so even a professional couldn't determine whether this videotape had been edited. But the only thing that was certain was that Yang Ming was absolutely related to this case. In the picture where Yang Ming appeared, his head happened to be the perpetual calendar in the Swayze group corridor. The time and date displayed on it were before and after the incident. The perpetual calendar was also identified by the technicians. The dust on it was naturally formed, and there were no traces of artificial falsification. This showed that the time of the perpetual calendar was accurate, and no one had tampered with it. In this way, Yang Ming became the biggest suspect. Captain Zhang had already found someone to pull out Yang Ming's file and found a full set of information on Yang Ming. Captain Zhang. This person is a freshman at Songjiang Industry University. How can he go to Mount Jing to kill people? Xiao Tang didn't understand because Yang Ming's file clearly stated this. Captain Zhang shook his head. He also didn't understand, but there were too many things in the world without a reason. In the past few years as a criminal police officer, he had seen a lot of such things. Some people who seemed very unlikely to become murderers became murderers. However, what caught Captain Zhang's attention was that Yang Ming and Sui Yuejin's son, Sui Guangqi, were junior high school classmates. Was there any connection between them? In any case, he must first control Yang Ming and bring him back for investigation. Regardless of whether Yang Ming killed people or not, he was likely to be a suspect just because he appeared at the crime scene that night. In the suburban villa of the behind-the-scenes boss, Wang Yukai received the latest news from his men and walked proudly to the behind-the-scenes boss room. Boss. Huang Yukai pushed the door and walked in. The behind-the-scenes boss was lying on the sofa and resting with his eyes closed. Now Huang Yukai was more willing to call him boss. After he saw the tip of the iceberg of the behind-the-scenes boss' strength gradually revealed, he now admired him from the bottom of his heart. In the past, it was just a cooperative relationship, so calling him boss was just a respectful title. Oh. Is there any news? When the behind-the-scenes boss saw Huang Yukai come in, he glanced at him and continued to close his eyes to rest. The underling who was sent to follow saw that the videotape was picked up by a cleaner and then brought back home. What's funny is that this guy actually regarded the tape as a sex video. He even bought a bottle of wine and half a pound of pig head meat and went to his neighbor's house, intending to watch it together. Huang Yukai couldn't help but laugh as he said this. However, it didn't take long for a police car to come. One of them was the captain of the criminal investigation team of the Mount Jing police station who was in charge of Sui Yuejin's case. It seems that they came for the videotape. Although this tape isn't enough to take Yang Ming's life, as long as he enters the detention center, he won't be able to come out. Have you bribed your people? The behind-the-scenes boss asked. Don't worry. Huang Yukai patted his chest and promised, the prison bully in the detention center is my former sworn brother. When he enters the detention center, it's like entering his own house. He will stay there for a period of time every few days. The people inside are familiar with each other. When it's time to eat, let him do something. Poison Yang Ming and directly poison him to death. After knowing that Yang Ming's skills were good, Huang Yukai also changed his mind. If there was a gang fight and they couldn't beat Yang Ming to death, then it wouldn't be good to continue to implement other plans. It was better to start from the aspect of poisoning and let people poison Yang Ming to death. That's good. Only when he is least prepared can we win by surprise. Yang Ming shouldn't think so much in the detention center. The behind-the-scenes boss nodded. But don't have too much hope. Yang Ming, this kid, is very smart. The behind-the-scenes boss now saw that Yang Ming wasn't so easy to deal with. There was a good saying that it was really raising a tiger to invite calamity. If he started with him earlier, maybe it wouldn't be so difficult, but now Yang Ming's wings were full. If he wanted to move him again, it was even more difficult. However, things were unpredictable. Who would have thought that Yang Ming would become an obstacle on his way forward? I understand. I will let that guy be careful. Huang Yukai nodded and said. He hated Yang Ming. Naturally, he also wanted to kill Yang Ming quickly. At the same time, Captain Zhang and Xiao Tang had already acted. Aren't we going to inform the Songjiang police? Xiao Tang asked with some doubts. They came to Songjiang to arrest people. It was reasonable to inform the Songjiang police. Captain Zhang shook his head. Yang Ming's information is very complicated. His father is the chairman of the Mingyang Heavy Industry Group. He has some roots in the province. I am afraid that if we inform the Songjiang police in advance, someone will tip us off. Xiao Tang was stunned and immediately understood the meaning of Captain Zhang. Even if it wasn't intentional, this kind of person with a deep background in the local area, who inadvertently revealed it, it was likely to cause Yang Ming to escape in advance. Yang Ming has such a prominent family background. Why would he go to kill people? Xiao Tang was a bit puzzled. This thing is hard to say. Whether the person was killed by Yang Ming or not, we need to investigate to know. But now it seems that the suspicion is more serious. Captain Zhang was also at his wits' end. Yang Ming's life experience was destined to make them cautious when handling cases, and they didn't dare to arrest him easily. He believed that if Yang Ming's father, Yang Dahai, said a word, there would be countless pressure on Captain Zhang. Mount Jing applied for a municipality. Although the province agreed, the country had not yet approved. Now Mount Jing was still under the leadership of the province. That was to say, as long as Yang Dahai pressured from the top, Captain Zhang's case would not be investigated. Therefore, he could only control Yang Ming with lightning speed and hope that there would be progress under the surprise interrogation. Hey! Is that Yang Ming's car in front? Xiao Tang's eyes were sharp. He saw the license plate of a BMW X5 waiting in line at the exit of the Songjiang Ring Expressway toll booth. Captain Zhang quickly looked over after listening. Sure enough, it was the BMW X5 off-road vehicle with the license plate number, Song B88B88, shown in the information. This brand was easier to recognize, and it left a deep impression. With the strength of Yang Ming's father, Yang Dahai, it should not be difficult to get such a license plate. For these rich kids, Captain Zhang's impression was not very good. Driving a BMW with such a license plate was somewhat ostentatious. Follow up. Captain Zhang instructed Xiao Tang. Chapter 1291. He didn't expect to have such an unexpected gain after getting off the highway and entering Songjiang's Ring Highway. He originally thought that he had to wait at Yang Ming's door. Captain Zhang didn't want to alert the enemy. Yang Ming's father, Yang Ming, had too much influence in Songjiang. If he publicly contacted Yang Ming, it was likely that various parties would intervene. Therefore, Captain Zhang could only make a move in the dark. He first controlled Yang Ming and interrogated Yang Ming. If there was really a problem, even if someone intervened, it would not help. Now, he could actually meet Yang Ming here. If the person sitting in the car in front was really Yang Ming, then all the problems were solved. Yang Ming had several residences. Maybe he would live on campus, so it was still difficult to find Yang Ming. Xiao Tang sped up and turned on the police lights in the car. He overtook Yang Ming's car and stopped in front of him. Yang Ming frowned. He didn't expect that there would be a police car in front of him. Yang Ming was waiting to pass the toll booth, so the car was parked. The police car came over and blocked Yang Ming's road. Before Yang Ming got off, the door of the police car opened. Captain Zhang and Xiao Tang jumped down and knocked on Yang Ming's window. Yang Ming opened the window. "What's the matter?" Seeing that Yang Ming was sitting in the driver's seat, Captain Zhang and Xiao Tang looked at each other and nodded. This operation was unexpectedly smooth. They met Yang Ming here, so they didn't have to go to Songjiang. "We are from the Mount Jing police station." Captain Zhang showed his police ID and showed it to Yang Ming. "I now suspect that you are related to a murder case. Please come back with us for investigation." "Murder case?" Yang Ming was stunned and blurted out, "Sui Yuejin's case." Since these two came from Mount Jing, then Yang Ming could only think of Sui Yuejin's case in Mount Jing a few days ago. Captain Zhang was stunned. If Yang Ming could talk about this case, it proved that he knew this case very well. However, listening to Yang Ming's tone, he didn't seem to be secretive. Instead, it seemed very normal. This made Captain Zhang's heart sink. Intuitively, he could tell that Yang Ming didn't seem to have any connection with this case. However, intuition was unreliable. If intuition was reliable, then solving the case wouldn't be so complicated and difficult. "Yes, please come with us," Captain Zhang said. "You suspect that I did it?" Yang Ming looked at Captain Zhang's expression and thought, "I guess Captain Zhang is treating me as a suspect because I did go to the crime scene at that time, or maybe I was seen by someone." Captain Zhang didn't speak, but from his expression, he also acquiesced to Yang Ming's statement. He did suspect that Yang Ming was a suspect. "If I said that it wasn't me, would you believe it?" Yang Ming shrugged. "I'm in a hurry to go back to school. Can I not go with you? Now, we are just asking you to assist in the investigation. Don't wait for the arrest warrant. We will trouble you again." Xiao Tang was a little impatient. When he heard that Yang Ming was still bargaining, he was a little anxious. "Your attitude is quite impatient, huh?" Yang Ming glanced at Xiao Tang and smiled. Captain Zhang knew that Yang Ming's family background wasn't ordinary. He waved his hand to Xiao Tang and motioned him not to speak first. "We just want to understand the situation, so please cooperate." "Well, where is it?" "Just here, right? I will talk in your car." Yang Ming finished and got out of the car. Xiao Tang looked at Yang Ming with vigilance, fearing that he would run away. Captain Zhang wasn't afraid that Yang Ming would run away. Where could he run to here? Moreover, if he didn't drive and ran directly with his legs, wouldn't that be stupid? However, Captain Zhang felt that Yang Ming didn't seem to understand the situation. Now, they weren't looking for him to talk, but they were asking him to go back for investigation. "Mr. Yang, we are asking you to go back to the Mount Jing police station for investigation." We can't finish it here in a few words. You come with us. Let the lady in the car drive your car away or park it here first. I will send a police officer to help you drive back, said Captain Zhang. She can drive, but I believe we can finish it in a few words. As Yang Ming spoke, he walked to Captain Zhang's police car. However, halfway through, he turned around and said to Captain Zhang, "Police Officer Zhang, can you talk to me alone in the car first?" Yang Ming had seen the police ranks of Captain Zhang and Xiao Tang from their police officer ID cards. Captain Zhang should be a person in charge, and Xiao Tang was an ordinary police officer. Therefore, Yang Ming had something to say to Captain Zhang. After all, his identity was there. Captain Zhang was stunned. He didn't know what Yang Ming meant, but he still nodded. "Well, Xiao Tang, you wait outside. I will talk to Mr. Yang first." Xiao Tang naturally nodded obediently, but he also stood vigilantly beside the car, fearing that Yang Ming would play some tricks. Captain Zhang and Yang Ming got into the car together. Yang Ming didn't say much. He took out an ID card from his pocket and stuffed it into Captain Zhang's hand. Because the light in the car was dim, Captain Zhang didn't see it clearly. He thought that Yang Ming wanted to bribe him with money, so he waved his hand and said, "Don't play this trick. I won't accept your things. This is not for you. It's just for you to take a look," Yang Ming said with a smile. "Oh." Captain Zhang picked up the thing that Yang Ming stuffed into him with some doubts. He turned on the reading light in the car and opened the small book that Yang Ming handed to him. His face suddenly changed. He was the captain of the Mount Jing criminal investigation team. "So, Police Officer Zhang, if you have something to say, just say it. It turns out to be like this. So, we are a family. Since Mr. Yang said so, then I will say it directly." Police Officer Zhang was a little afraid of Yang Ming's identity before. He didn't know what Yang Ming's character was like, so he didn't dare to say it too obviously. But now, since Yang Ming said so himself, he didn't need to hide it. So, he said, "This is the case, Mr. Yang. If the case of Sui Yuejin being shot has nothing to do with you, then you should have some clues at the scene, right? If this matter is really related to you, then can Mr. Yang explain to my leader? You can just take over this case so that I don't have to think about it. This matter has nothing to do with me. I can tell you for sure." Yang Ming said, "I went to find Sui Yuejin because I wanted him to do something for me. It was a threat to him, but I didn't have to kill him. As for what it is, I can't say it. Please forgive me, Police Officer Zhang." If Yang Ming didn't want to say it, Police Officer Zhang wouldn't ask. Who knew if it was confidential? But since Yang Ming said that it had nothing to do with him, Police Officer Zhang had a headache. Actually, this is the case. The Sui's group surveillance video was taken away. We have no clues about this case, but this morning, a cleaner picked up a videotape on the roadside. It was a video of Mr. Yang going to the Sui's group. So, we came here. Videotape. Picked it up on the road. Yang Ming listened to Police Officer Zhang's words and suddenly frowned. The Sui's group surveillance system uses a videotape as a medium. No, it's a hard drive. When we arrived, the hard drive had been dismantled, said Police Officer Zhang. Chapter 1292. Police Officer Zhang said, "This videotape should be copied, but after technical identification, the content inside is true. Am I the only one in the videotape?" Yang Ming felt a little incredulous. When he left, Sui Yuejin was still alive. Shortly after Yang Ming left, Sui Yuejin was shot to death. It showed that the gangster entered the Sui's group after Yang Ming left. Since he was the only one in the surveillance video, it showed that this videotape was edited. As for whether this videotape was deliberately left on the side of the road, the answer was obvious. There must be someone who wanted to frame him. This kind of method was not uncommon. Even Yang Ming could guess who wanted to frame him because this method was too familiar. It was almost the same as Wang Jitao. If Yang Ming guessed correctly, this matter should be done by the behind-the-scenes boss. The person who planned it was Huang Yukai. Only this guy could come up with such a bad idea. During this time, Yang Ming's biggest enemy was the behind-the-scenes boss. Huang Yukai, who mingled with the boss, would naturally help him come up with ideas. Yes. Captain Zhang smiled bitterly. He also thought of what Yang Ming was thinking. In the beginning, we felt that this videotape was somewhat suspicious. Now it seems that it can be determined that someone deliberately released this videotape to confuse our line of sight. Of course, these people should not know Mr. Yang's identity. Otherwise, this would become a bad move, shooting themselves in the foot. This is not to confuse your line of sight. Someone wants to frame me. Yang Ming shrugged. He did not need to hide anything from Police Officer Zhang. Maybe I inadvertently offended a certain force or organization. During this time, this organization or individual has been targeting me. The means can be said to be varied. Oh. Police Officer Zhang was stunned. He didn't expect it to be like this. However, the nature of Yang Ming's work was very special. It was very likely that he would offend someone, so he nodded. Mr. Yang's work is really hard. It is more dangerous than ours. You will offend some more powerful forces. Yang Ming wanted Officer Zhang to think so he didn't deny it. He smiled bitterly and said, "Yes, but there's no other way. I can't do anything if I'm afraid of doing anything." However, Mr. Yang, you said that this incident was directed at you. What do these people want to do? How? Officer Zhang didn't understand why Yang Ming was referring to those people. I don't know the specifics, but it's nothing more than for you to arrest me. Yang Ming could roughly guess the boss's thoughts. Capture him. Are we that easy to fool? Although you will be treated as a suspect, you won't be convicted so easily. Police Officer Zhang smiled awkwardly. We just looked for you to investigate the situation. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so polite and take coercive measures. I know. Yang Ming nodded with a smile. However, even if we arrest you, at most, you will be detained in the detention center as a suspect. What's in it for them? Police Officer Zhang was still very puzzled. What did Yang Ming's enemy want to get? That's enough. Yang Ming said, they may want to do something in the detention center. It's not difficult for them to bribe 1 or 2 people. At that time, they can beat me up or poison me. It's impossible to guard against. Yang Ming had seen the means of the behind-the-scenes boss. The entire Sun's group could be subverted under his monetary attack. What else was impossible? Police Officer Zhang listened to Yang Ming's words and took a deep breath. Yang Ming was right. If Yang Ming really died in the detention center at that time, then Police Officer Zhang's responsibility would be huge. Not to mention Yang Ming's identity, even if Yang Ming was an ordinary person, the current news and public opinion were so powerful. This matter was enough to make him suffer. What's more, Yang Ming was a person in that field. If something really happened to Yang Ming, forget about Police Officer Zhang's future, it was hard to say whether he could be held responsible. This matter is indeed our mistake. This videotape looks very suspicious. I will investigate it as soon as I go back. Police Officer Zhang said quickly. However, it seems that the difficulty of detection has increased. Yang Ming listened to Police Officer Zhang's words and could only smile bitterly. If they really did it, I don't even know who they are now. You just Yeah, if Mr. Yang has time, it's best to say hello to our leader and put this matter on your side. Then, I won't have any pressure. Police Officer Zhang looked at Yang Ming sincerely. Apparently, after he knew the truth of the matter, he had less confidence in solving the case. I have to ask my superiors. Yang Ming couldn't make a decision on his own. After all, this matter involved a lot of things. Okay, Mr. Yang, do you want to ask now? Police Officer Zhang was a little anxious. After all, if this case could be handed over to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, it would be easier than doing it himself. Now. Yang Ming was a little helpless, then nodded and said, Okay, then I will make a call now. Should I get out of the car and leave? Police Officer Zhang asked quickly. Forget it, no need. I still need you to explain this matter. After all, I don't know much about the case. Yang Ming waved his hand and signaled that Police Officer Zhang could get out of the car. Police Officer Zhang nodded with some joy. Yang Ming didn't go behind his back, which meant that Yang Ming really wanted to help him. Yang Ming regarded him as one of his own and wouldn't harm him. Yang Ming directly dialed Xia Bingbao's phone. It rang twice and was picked up. Yang Ming. Is that you? Brother Xia, it's me. Yang Ming said, I didn't disturb your rest, right? What rest? How can I have time to rest? What's the matter with you, kid? I was looking for you a while ago, but I couldn't get through your phone. I thought you disappeared. Xia Bingbao was obviously complaining about Yang Ming. I have something to ask you. What's the matter? Yang Ming was stunned. He went out a while ago, and he did turn off his phone. He didn't expect Xia Bingbao to look for him. I went back to Songjiang before. Xia Shui knows. Didn't you ask her? No. Xia Bingbao thought, is there something fishy between this kid and Xia Shui? How did Xia Shui know when I went back to Songjiang? But I was too embarrassed to ask. I helped her catch a wanted criminal. Didn't she tell you? Yang Ming was a bit baffled. It stood to reason that Xia Shui should have told her brother about this. No, not bad. You helped my sister again. Obviously, Xia Bingbao was very happy to hear Yang Ming's words. You also know that I have no use for the credit. It's better to give it to your sister. Yang Ming smiled and said, How are you going to thank me? Thank your head. I'm going crazy looking for you. Xia Bingbao said, Is it convenient to talk over there? Say it. My phone is soundproof. No one can hear it. Yang Ming glanced at Police Officer Zhang, and Police Officer Zhang consciously moved his body to the side. He was afraid to hear the content of Yang Ming's phone call. I have news about Elder Yu here. Xia Bingbao said, Elder Yu, do you remember who it is? Nonsense, do you think I have amnesia? Yang Ming was a little dumbfounded. How could he not remember such an important person? What news? Say it quickly. According to internal news, Elder Yu seems to have appeared in Yunnan, said Xia Bingbao. How do you know? Did someone see him? It seems that no one has seen him, right? Asked Yang Ming. No, 2 corpses were found in Yunnan. The state of death was exactly the same as the corpses found in Songjiang. It should be caused by Elder Yu sucking the blood dry. Xia Bingbao said solemnly. Oh. That's possible. That's his hometown. If he escapes, he will definitely run there. Yang Ming nodded and said, however, even if we find his tracks, we may not be able to find him. That is his territory. He is very familiar with it. But we have to find him even if it is difficult. I want to send you to Yunnan. Do you have the confidence to complete the task? Asked Xia Bingbao. Damn, brother, don't mess with me. You want me to go? Won't I be cannon fodder? Yang Ming was shocked. He didn't expect Xiao Bingbao to make this request. This is what we agreed upon after our research. You will lead the team to capture Elder Yu. I will send you a few assistants, but not now. We have to prepare for this plan for a while. Xiao Bingbao said, I'm telling you in advance just to let you be prepared. There is no choice. Yang Ming saw that Xiao Bingbao was firm and knew that he couldn't refuse. This phone call was really bad timing. His hand was cheap. If he called again after a while, maybe Xiao Bingbao couldn't find him. Then, he would look for someone else. But now, he was afraid that he couldn't refuse. Choose what? We think you can do it. Do you still need to choose? Xiao Bingbao smiled and said, Why are you looking for me? Yang Ming was a little depressed, but Xiao Bingbao had made it clear that he had no choice. Well, let's put this aside first. I will think about it. I am looking for you for a similar thing. Similar thing? What is it? Xiao Bingbao was stunned and asked, I have news about Elder Yu's collaborator. Elder Yu's collaborator? What do you mean? Asked Xiao Bingbao. Elder Yu's activity funds in Songjiang should be provided by a behind-the-scenes boss, and this behind-the-scenes boss has a cooperative relationship with him. What I want to say is the news of this behind-the-scenes boss, said Yang Ming. Oh. Xiao Bingbao frowned and said, Are you sure? I will tell you the specific details another day, but I am 80% sure that the two of them are a group or have cooperated before. Yang Ming said, Now, I will let Captain Zhang of the Criminal Investigation Team of the Mount Jing Police Station introduce the case to you. I will tell you the rest later. You are with him. Then let him talk to me. Xiao Bingbao said after listening to Yang Ming's words. Police Officer Zhang, you personally introduced the case to my superiors. Yang Ming handed the phone to Police Officer Zhang. You know the case better than me. Okay. Police Officer Zhang quickly took the phone. Of course, he knew Xiao Bingbao. He was the person in charge of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's Northeast area. They had business dealings before, so Police Officer Zhang said enthusiastically, Is this Mr. Xiao? I am Zhang Public Opinion. Hello, Captain Zhang. You can introduce the case to me. Xiao Bingbao naturally did not have so much nonsense with Police Officer Zhang. He had a completely businesslike attitude. Captain Zhang quickly told Xiao Bingbao what he knew about the case, including the videotape. After that, he returned the phone to Yang Ming. You mean that this behind-the-scenes boss wants to harm you? Asked Xiao Bingbao. It should be like this. It can be judged from a series of things. I don't know if it is because of the incident with Elder Yu last time that I offended him, said Yang Ming. Okay, then leave this case to us. I will file it with the Mount Jing police station and bring the file over. In addition, we also have people in Mount Jing. I will introduce them to you. You tell them everything you know and let them help you track down the behind-the-scenes boss, said Xiao Bingbao. That's great. Yang Ming didn't expect to use official power to search for the behind-the-scenes boss's traces. This way, he would be much more relaxed and not so passive. Although I don't know if this behind-the-scenes boss has anything to do with Elder Yu, since you said so, then I will believe it for the time being. As Xiao Bingbao said this, he changed the topic. However, since they are related, then Elder Yu's matter will be handed over to you. You can't shirk this time, right? Ah. Yang Ming didn't expect Xiao Bingbao to go in such a big circle. In the end, he was still involved. It seemed that Xiao Bingbao didn't care whether the behind-the-scenes boss had anything to do with Elder Yu from the beginning. What he cared about was that Yang Ming would take the lead to help him catch Elder Yu. Why? Are you still unwilling this time? Asked Xiao Bingbao. You think too highly of me. At this point, Yang Ming couldn't refuse even if he wanted to. He had to say, if you want me to go, I can only try my best. Don't blame me if things go wrong. Who can guarantee that it will succeed? What's more, it is such a terrifying guy. Xiao Bingbao smiled and said, I didn't give you a time limit. You just have to do your best. I can also apply for a lot of funds for you. I'm not short of money. Yang Ming sweated. I'm afraid that I won't be able to come back alive. Don't worry. Xia Shui will also be with you. This is for sure. She was also involved in elder use case, so she will be the police representative. Xia Bingbao said, if it is really so terrifying, how can I let Xia Shui go? You want her to do meritorious deeds, right? Yang Ming despised, do you think I don't know what you are thinking? But I will send experts to follow you around. Xia Bingbao said, they are all our top experts, so you don't have to worry about safety. Okay. I will temporarily agree to this. I will go back and think about it. Yang Ming had to say so. Then, I will take it as you agree. Xia Bingbao smiled and said, I will contact our people in Mount Jing and ask them to go to the police station to take the case. Then, let's leave it at that. If I knew earlier, I wouldn't have called you. Yang Ming hung up the phone with no interest. How is it? Seeing that Yang Ming hung up the phone, Captain Zhang quickly asked. It's done. Our people will go to the Mount Jing police station in a while and take over the case. You can go back and hand it over now. It will be easier for us to handle this kind of case than you, said Yang Ming. Thank you so much. I can see that Mr. Yang has also paid a great price. Captain Zhang had just heard what Yang Ming and Xia Bingbao said. Naturally, he knew that Yang Ming was forced to agree to perform a very dangerous task. He felt a little ashamed. It's nothing. This matter will fall on my head sooner or later. Yang Ming shrugged, you don't have to take it seriously. In the future, if Mr. Yang has something to do in Mount Jing, I will do my best. Captain Zhang knew that the price Yang Ming paid was relatively high. Although it was understated, he knew that it was definitely not so simple. Then I will thank you first. Yang Ming smiled indifferently. I should be thanking you. Otherwise, this case would really have no clue. Captain Zhang also said politely. In this case, I will go first. I have to go to school tomorrow. I will leave my phone number with you. If there is anything, you can contact me at any time. Yang Ming was afraid that Sun Jie would be impatient, so he said. Okay. Captain Zhang sent Yang Ming out of the car. Xiao Tang was a little surprised. He didn't know why Captain Zhang and Yang Ming came down again. However, seeing Yang Ming walking to his car, Xiao Tang was a little anxious. Captain Zhang, why did you let him go? The case has nothing to do with him. Of course, I let him go. Captain Zhang quickly stopped Xiao Tang and kept winking at him. But the more it was like this, the more suspicious Xiao Tang was. He vaguely saw that Yang Ming seemed to give something to Captain Zhang in the car, and then he made a phone call to Captain Zhang. Then, Captain Zhang let him go. Could it be that Yang Ming bribed Captain Zhang and found a powerful person to call and intercede, so Captain Zhang let Yang Ming go? Thinking of this, the great image of Captain Zhang collapsed in Xiao Tang's heart. Xiao Tang frowned and said to Captain Zhang, Captain Zhang, I didn't expect you to be such a person. You actually accepted a bribe from the suspect and let the suspect go. You made a mistake. Don't you know? What bribe do I accept? You wait for a while. I will tell you. You don't talk now. Captain Zhang was a little annoyed. He was very angry at Xiao Tang's ignorance. Wait for a while. Do you want to tell me that a big shot called you and asked you to let Yang Ming go? Xiao Tang snorted, I have already guessed it. You let Yang Ming go, but I won't. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.